not be enough room for everyone to sit. Seeing the person who just entered, Lin Qiu could not help but ask in surprise. Fang Zheng, why are you here? She instantly recognized the head of the Fang family. Fang Zheng looked at everyone in the room with some surprise. Professor Lin, why are you here too? Ever since his son Fang Qing fell into a coma, he had sought out almost every medical professional in related fields. Lin Qiu sighed. I came to seek out Su Lai to discuss a few problems. But has your son still not woken up? We had multiple consultations before, and his condition is indeed extremely tricky. Fang Zheng did not hide anything. A glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. Mr. Su said he has a way to wake my son up. As long as there is a sliver of hope, I won't give up. Hearing this, Lin Qiu and the other three elders almost said in unison, impossible. We know Fang Cheng's condition better than anyone. It is absolutely impossible for him to wake up. Hearing this categorical denial, Fang Zheng's heart inevitably sank. Respected experts, I know your judgment is highly authoritative, but since Mr. Su has offered, I want to give it a try. It took me a full half hour before I slowly strolled into the school infirmary. Pushing the door open and seeing the crowd, I could not help but raise an eyebrow. Why is everyone gathered here, having a meeting? Lunan Wei was as icy as ever. Director Su, Director Li along with these professors and experts have been waiting here for you since yesterday, and you should recognize this Mr. Feng. I glanced at Fang Zheng and nodded. I know. I am the one who told Fang Zheng to come. I am sorry to have kept you all waiting so long. Let us all grab some hot pot for lunch. Zhou is treating. Hearing this, Zhou Feng's face turned green. He almost jumped out of his chair. Why should I treat? You are the one who was late and made everyone wait. Why are you making me the fall guy? I said righteously, because I have not been paid yet. You know I have only been here a few days and my pockets are empty. At worst, I will just treat you back once I get my salary. I casually glanced at Fang Cheng on the hospital bed. If I had known the condition was this minor, I would not have bothered coming. Hearing the words minor condition, Li Shouzhong and Fang Zheng felt their hearts skip a beat, knowing trouble was brewing. Sure enough, the old expert Lin Qiu's expression instantly turned icy. We exhausted countless manpower and resources just to keep him alive, and you call it minor? Facing their doubts, I remained calm and nodded. Indeed, it is very minor. To me, it is nothing more than lifting a finger. You all think it is severe because you have not found the right method. An old man shook his head in anger. Ridiculous, you do not understand medicine at all. All those things you discussed with old Li must have been fabricated nonsense or just things you heard from others, right? Li Shouzhong broke into a sweat and hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Perhaps Director Su did not express his meaning clearly. From his perspective, he might just feel it is relatively simple. I smiled, not in a hurry to explain myself. Instead, I turned to Zhou Feng and said, Dr. Zhou, pour me a glass of water. Zhou Feng glared at me. You want me to go, so I have to go. I am a doctor, not your assistant. He thought to himself, I am the one competing with you for the director position. Can you take this seriously? I ignored his complaints, wrote down about a dozen Chinese herbs on a piece of paper, and handed it to Zhou Feng. Go to the pharmacy and buy these for me. Make it quick. Just as Zhou Feng was about to refuse, he felt Fang Zheng's icy gaze locked firmly onto him. A chill ran down Zhou Feng's spine. He did not dare utter another word of nonsense. He could not bear the wrath of the Fang family's patriarch. He could only frustratingly grab the piece of paper, and like a bullied little wife, turned around and dashed to the dispensary to fetch the herbs. Watching this scene, the corners of Lu Nanwei's mouth twitched slightly. Seeing Zhou Feng forced to swallow his pride in front of me, it seemed Zhou Feng had finally met his match. An hour later, Zhou Feng ran back to the infirmary, sweating profusely and panting heavily. He heavily slammed the individually packaged herbs onto the table. In his heart, he had cursed me 10,000 times over. I looked at the herbs on the table and nodded. Grind each of these herbs into powder, one by one. Zhou Feng finally could not hold back his urge to curse. Forget it, grind it is. Who is afraid of whom? Zhou Feng wept silently in his heart. Fortunately, the infirmary had herb grinding tools. It took another hour of agonizing work to grind all 13 herbs into powder. I looked at the freshly ground herbal powders, took just a tiny pinch of each, and sprinkled them into a white bowl filled with water. The motion was as casual as sprinkling black pepper, showing absolutely no sign of medical rigor. I picked up the bowl of murky herbal water, handed it to Fang Zheng and said, "Have your son drink this and he will wake up." The tone was as flat and simple as telling someone to drink boiled water to quench their thirst. Fang Jing did not dare hesitate. He carefully took the bowl. His hands were trembling slightly. This bowl of medicine carried all his hopes. He prepared to personally feed it to his son. Zheng Ping, the hot-tempered old doctor, was incredibly disappointed. He originally thought I could actually pull off a miracle. But it turned out to be just casually grinding herbs into powder, mixing it with water, and making the patient drink it. Suddenly, Zheng Ping realized something. He had not even noticed what the herbs were just now. Now, looking closely, they were all highly toxic, even lethal herbs like aconite and nux vomica. Zheng Ping felt his scalp tingle with fear. This was not saving a life. This was clearly murder. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Do not drink it, the medicine is toxic. All 13 of these herbs are lethal poisons." Startled by the yell, Fang Zheng's hand jerked, nearly dropping the bowl. He said angrily, "Zheng Ping, what are you doing? You scared me to death. If I spilled this life-saving medicine, could you afford to pay for it?" Zheng Ping pointed at my nose and cursed, "You quack doctor. These 13 herbs are all poisonous. What are your intentions using these in a prescription? Are you trying to kill young Master Fang?" However, Fang Zheng roared furiously, "Have you had enough? This is my domain. I decide who gets to treat him. Since when is it your turn, you bunch of quacks, to dictate things here?" As the patriarch of the Fang family, the aura Fang Zheng unleashed at this moment intimidated everyone present. It is own thing that you can't save my son, but to actually falsely accuse Mr. Zheng Ping and Lin Qiu were both stunned. The fact that those herbs are poisonous is the truth. We are doing this for your own good. But they were also people of status and prestige. Being treated this way instantly made them displeased. Fang Zheng looked at me, only to see me staring blankly at the summer cicadas on the willow tree outside the window, completely ignoring the noisy argument in the room, as if all the disturbances in this world had nothing to do with me. Fang Zheng gritted his teeth, steeled his heart, and ignored the dissuasion of those around him. He poured the bowl of pitch-black herbal water into his son's mouth. Even if it was poison, he accepted it, because this was his only hope. The expressions of Lin Qiu and the others changed drastically. Even if they verbally claimed that his life or death had nothing to do with them, with a healer's benevolent heart, how could they just sit by and watch? They hurriedly reached out to stop him, but unfortunately, it was too late. I continued to watch the cicadas on the tree. It seemed the summer cicadas were far more interesting than the people and things inside the room. This infuriated all the doctors present. Many scoffed coldly, turning around to leave. Li Shouzhong grew anxious and hurriedly shouted, "Do not go, everyone. We're not here to discuss medical skills. Let us wait a bit longer. Maybe there will be a miracle." Just then a faint cough made the infirmary instantly fall silent, because that cough came from the hospital bed. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. They wondered if their eyes were playing tricks on them. Fang Qing, who had been in a coma for years and pronounced unable to ever wake up, actually opened his eyes. Fang Cheng's lips moved, and he softly called out, "Dad." This call was like a heavenly melody. Fang Zheng's nose stung, and tears instantly streamed down his face. He choked out, "Thank you, mister." Fang Zheng asked expectantly if his son could still practice martial arts. However, I shook my head with regret. Although Fang Qing is awake, his bodily functions have been damaged. His path in martial arts is severed. Though Fang Zheng was disappointed, the joy of his son waking up still outweighed the regret. After all, being alive was the most important thing. As long as the person is still here, that is better than anything else. I did not reveal that Fang Qing actually possessed a spirit root, and could embark on the path of immortal cultivation. I thought to myself, if I allowed the earth's spiritual energy to revive, perhaps it could change the destinies of many people. Zheng Ping and the others now looked as if they had discovered a rare treasure. Own by own, they gathered around the bed to examine Fang Qing. Confirming that Fang Qing was truly cured, they all stared at me with burning gazes. Facing everyone's questions, I smiled faintly and said, "Are not I a quack?" This single sentence filled the crowd with deep shame, especially Zheng Ping, who had cursed the loudest just moments ago. At this moment, his face and neck were flushed red, wishing he could find a hole in the ground to crawl into. To alleviate the awkwardness, Zheng Ping said, "You old geezers have subpar medical skills, yet you doubted Director Su. I firmly believed all along that Fang Qing would wake up." Everyone was shocked. How could this person be so shameless? Zheng Ping said to me with feigned heartache, "Director Su, please forgive them. They are still just innocent children who do not know any better." These words made even me chuckle, and I did not hold it against them too much. But I soon regretted it, because for the rest of the morning, I was pestered by this group of old children debating medical knowledge. It was as if they had pushed open the door to a new world, utterly thrilled. In the end, Li Shouzhong and the others obediently listened to my lecture, completely acknowledging my status as a senior in the medical field. If this scene were to get out, it would probably shake the entire medical world. Zhou Feng watched all this and gave a bitter smile. He knew he had thoroughly lost. My medical expertise could be considered the absolute pinnacle of the medical community. What did he have to compete with me? Finding a quiet moment, Zhou Feng came before me and said solemnly, "Director Su, I was narrow-minded before. From today on, I will earnestly work and learn under you. I will never compete for the director title again." Lu Nanwei's beautiful eyes sparkled with extraordinary brilliance. Looking at my young, handsome profile, a ripple formed in her heart. But then, thinking of the marriage arranged by her family, she could only let out a long sigh. I was right in the middle of giving a lecture to the medical bigwigs. At this moment, the door to the school infirmary was pushed open. The person who arrived was actually my sister-in-law, Ruan Lan. Ruan Lan stood at the door and peered inside. When she saw the dense crowd of people, she could not help but be startled by the grand lineup. Lu Nanwei, as a member of the school infirmary, immediately noticed the commotion at the door. She took the initiative to step forward. "Excuse me, student, are you feeling unwell anywhere?" Lu Nanwei used to stubbornly believe that the reason I was willing to stoop to being a school doctor at Dongli University was entirely because of Ruan Lan. Ruan Lan pointed at me. "I am looking for Su Lai. He is lecturing inside, right? Please ask him to come out for a moment. I have something extremely important to discuss with him." Instantly, Lin Qiu, Zheng Ping, and the other doctors who were quietly listening swept their gazes over in unison. Their eyes carried a faint hint of hostility, because I had just reached a crucial point in explaining the medical concepts. This sudden interruption made them highly dissatisfied, as if their moment of enlightenment had been violently cut short, being stared down by so many big shots of the medical world. Ruan Lan instantly felt a tingling numbness in her scalp, but she forced herself to keep up appearances and huffed. "Su Lai, do not pretend you can't hear me in there. Hurry up and come out with me for a second. I have something to tell you, right now." Immediately, Ruan Lan's words carried an unquestionable tone of command. As if in this family, or at least in front of me, she was used to taking the dominant role. Looking at the expectant eyes of the crowd, I could only give a helpless, bitter smile. I stood up from the crowd, cupped my fist and apologized to everyone. "I am truly sorry, everyone. There is an urgent matter at home I need to attend to. That concludes today's lecture. We will chat again later." As I spoke, I squeezed through the dense crowd and quickly left the school infirmary. From the back, it almost looked like I was fleeing in a panic. I strolled alongside Ruan Lan across the Dongli University campus, finally having escaped from that pile of fanatical doctors. If I had kept lecturing, I probably would not even have had time for dinner today. Ruan Lan stopped, turned around, and looked at me suspiciously. "What were so many of you doing in there just now? Sitting all over the floor own by own?" It looked so creepy. I shrugged and explained with a breezy, nonchalant expression. It was nothing major. They were just asking me for advice on some medical issues. After hearing this explanation, Ruan Lan just let out a cold chuckle. She unceremoniously rolled her eyes hard, her face written all over with disbelief and mockery. "Asking you for medical advice. Su Lai, your skin is truly thick enough. Even though I do not study medicine, I recognized that several of the people in there are doctoral advisors from the medical department." Ruan Lan's expression suddenly turned serious. "I did not come to find you today to pick a fight. In 5 days, it is my sister's birthday. You should be well aware of this, right?" I was slightly taken aback, but then the specific significance of that date surfaced in my mind. "I understand. I will make sure she has a happy birthday this time. It won't be like the past anymore." "What do you understand? You do not understand anything at all. That day is not only her birthday, it is also the exact day 5 years ago when she was kicked out of the Ruan family, becoming the biggest joke in Hang City. I do not care if your engagement to my sister now is real. If you have any conscience left, you should do something for her. On that day, you would better take her out on a trip. Go somewhere with no people to lay low for a while. Whatever you do not trigger her sad memories at a time like this." I fell silent for a moment. I did not directly continue this heavy topic. Instead, I changed the subject, looking at Ruan Lan and asking earnestly, "I will take care of those unhappy matters. I want to ask you, what is your sister usually like?" I want to give her a gift on her birthday. Ruanlan shot me an annoyed glare, her tone carrying a hint of frustration at my ineptitude. No matter what you give her, nothing compares to giving her freedom, do you understand? I instantly felt a wave of helplessness. I thought to myself, am I really that unbearable in my sister-in-law's heart? Have I actually become a shackle to her? Ruanlan also realized her words just now were a bit out of line. If her elder sister found out, an endless lecture would be inevitable. She could not help but sigh and wave her hand, saying, forget it, forget it. You would not understand even if I told you something profound. My sister. She likes the stars in the sky. Hearing this, I looked up at the azure sky thoughtfully. Then I nodded and said with extreme seriousness, since she likes stars, then I shall give her stars. As long as it is what she wants. Let alone the stars, even the moon, I will pluck it down for her. Hearing this, Ruanlan was utterly dumbfounded. She looked at me like I was a complete idiot, completely unable to comprehend this man's thought process. Her original intention was to have me gift a telescope or a starry sky projector lamp or something. Yet this man actually had the audacity to boast that he would gift her actual stars. Sure enough, as unreliable as ever. Ruanlan also lost her previously somewhat decent tone. Fine, then I will just wait to see your stars. Let us see what you pull out to embarrass yourself when the time comes. Having said her piece, she stormed off indignantly. I did not mind Ruanlan's mockery at all. Standing there alone, my eyes flickered slightly. I muttered to myself, 5 more days. I did not return to the infirmary to continue working. Instead, I arrived early at the gate of Donghai Kindergarten to wait. Just then, the Su family's young lady, Su Dai, walked over quietly. She stood respectfully about a meter away from my side, and lowered her voice, saying, Mr. Su, I apologize for the sudden intrusion. We have already finished processing the jadeite you cut open the other day. It sold for exactly 1 billion yuan in total. After discussing it with 8th Master Jiang, we decided to keep half as operating capital. Please, you must accept this other half. It is what you rightfully deserve. She then quickly explained, as for this second check of 30 million, it is from the head of the Fong family, Fong Jing, who specifically asked me to pass it to you. The money earned from the jadeite was the stroke of fortune I casually gifted to the Su and Jiang families back then. Su Dai understood this clearer than anyone else, and that 30 million for performing a single task was the rule I had established previously. Clearly, Su Dai had truthfully informed Fong Jing of this rule. Normally, I should not accept this massive sum of 530 million, but after a moment's thought, living in this mortal world, there would inevitably be places where I needed to use money in the future. Therefore, I did not decline too much. I reached out, took the checks, and gave a faint nod. All right, I accept this money. Thank them on my behalf. In Su Dai's consistently lowered gaze, a gleam of irrepressible pleasant surprise rippled through. If her family were to encounter a life or death crisis in the future, I would absolutely not stand by and watch. To Su Dai, this was absolutely a highly profitable trade with 0 losses. Being able to use money to buy the protection of a peerless powerhouse was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. Su Dai did not stick around to be a nuisance. After completing her task, she very tactfully and quietly took her leave, not disturbing my time picking up my daughter. School's out. Let us go to the company to pick mommy up and go home. Watching my daughter running over, I smiled and waved my hand. Daddy, I am here. Hearing my call, Sui immediately trotted over to me on her little short legs, her ponytail bobbing up and down. I had just walked out after accompanying my child's mother to her company's team-building event. As an imperial sovereign, this was the first time I felt that my child's mother was this beautiful. The bright moonlight spilled over her, accentuating her cool elegance, making her look like a fairy from the Moon Palace. For a moment, I was utterly mesmerized. I have lived for 100,000 years. It is not that I have not seen peerless beauties. I have seen the 9 heavens profound maiden and the holy maiden of the demon race. But at this moment, my heart stirred only for her. Before, my desire to marry Ruantang was merely because she was the mother of my daughter, nothing more. It was born out of responsibility and guilt. But now, looking at Ruantang under the moonlight, I felt my heartbeat suddenly quicken. This kind of palpitation was something I had not experienced in a very long time. I thought to myself, oh no, this is the feeling of falling in love. This imperial heart, which had remained dormant for 10,000 years, was actually sent into a flutter by this mortal woman. As if noticing my burning gaze, Ruantang did not get angry. Instead, she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and lowered her head somewhat bashfully. She took our sleeping daughter from my arms, gently cradling her against her chest. Her expression was so tender it felt as if it could melt into water. Sitting on a street bench, she curled her lips into a rare smile. She looked at the prime estate district ahead. Su Lai, did you know our Yuan family almost had the chance to move in here? The major families and dignitaries of Donghai and Hang City all own properties here. It is a symbol of status and position. When I was little, Grandma used to take me for walks here. She often pointed at those villas and said, "That will be our new home in the future." I did not say a word. I just stood quietly to the side, looking at her tenderly, listening quietly as she poured her heart out, being the best listener. But later, Grandpa could not bear to spend the money. And then Grandma passed away before it could happen. Grandma never liked Ruan Lan or Ruan Jean. She only liked me and only doted on me. My name Ruan Tang was also given to me by Grandma. She said crabapple blossoms are very proud and do not just follow the crowd, which suits my personality. Grandma also said, after people pass away, they turn into stars in the sky. So I love looking at the starry sky, because I know Grandma is looking down at me from above. As she spoke, Ruan Tang's eyes welled up with mist. A teardrop gently fell onto a flower petal at her feet, as if it were the sound of something shattering deep within her heart. I listened silently. I took a pack of tissues from my pocket and handed it to her. My eyes were filled with pity. At that moment, a decision had already formed in my mind. Ruan Tang did not take the tissue and said stubbornly, "I am not crying." A gust of wind just blew into my eyes and got some dust in them. I did not expose her facade of strength. Instead, I took the initiative to pull out a tissue and gently wiped away the falling pearls from Ruan Tang's face. "Since Grandma liked this place, then we will buy it." Ruan Tang smiled through her tears. Though she felt it was highly unlikely, she still nodded and played along. "We will. As long as we work hard, there is always hope." In her view, they definitely could not afford the prime mansion at the peak of the mountain. But for a villa at the foot of the mountain costing 50 or 60 million, if she worked hard for a few years, there was still hope. "I am tired. Let us go home." Ruan Tang took a deep breath, composed her emotions, and stood up holding our daughter. I drove the car, with soothing music flowing through the cabin. Neither of us spoke again, but the atmosphere was much more harmonious than before. I safely escorted Ruan Tang and Su Yi back home. When I saw that they were completely asleep, my figure instantly vanished from Earth, as if I had never been there. Simultaneously, a supreme divine thought transmitted to the heavenly court, countless billions of light years away. Another divine thought was sent to Tan Chang, who was guarding in the shadows. In the darkness, Tan Chang's eyes snapped open. He bowed respectfully toward the void. Then, without a word, he silently left to execute his orders. Meanwhile, far away in the heavenly court, the first divine general Taoai, who was handling complex affairs, suddenly looked in the direction of Earth. A look of sheer horror appeared on his face. "The imperial sovereign is going to the forbidden ground, the Sea of Samsara. That is a dead zone that even great emperors fear." What is the imperial sovereign trying to do? The Sea of Samsara controlled the 6 paths of reincarnation across the heavens. It was the starting point and the end point of life and death. It contained the universe's most fundamental, yet most terrifying rules. No one can achieve eternal immortality. Even a great emperor, invincible in the cosmos and arbitrary across all ages, will eventually turn to dust before Samsara. Any cultivator below the emperor realm would have their life force stripped away and turned into nothingness the moment they stepped into the Sea of Samsara. That place had become the #1 forbidden ground since ancient times. The imperial sovereign was only 100,000 years old now. He was at the very prime of his life. He still had nearly 1,000,000 years of lifespan. He was incredibly young. Why would he risk entering the Sea of Samsara? On this day, I charged alone into the forbidden ground, the Sea of Samsara. That silhouette was isolated, absolute, and domineering, as if to trample over all the taboos in this world. No one knew that to find a single soul. How massive a price I paid. It was an obsession that could make even the heavens tremble. Only that on that day, a heaven-shaking imperial might erupted from the depths of the universe. Countless ancient entities slumbering within Taoist lineages and holy lands opened their eyes in absolute shock. They all simultaneously looked toward the direction of the Sea of Samsara in terror. There was more than own imperial might. That was the terrifying aura of great emperors engaged in a chaotic melee. When she woke up the next morning, Ruan Tang habitually reached out to the spot beside her, but she found I was not home. The bed was already cold. There was not even any breakfast prepared on the dining table. There was only a short note. It read, "Going out for business for 2 or 3 days. Do not worry about me. Who would worry about you, you self-absorbed guy?" Helpless, Ruan Tang went to the kitchen and fried 2 eggs for Yi. She took a carton of milk from the fridge. That simple meal served as breakfast for the two of them. Over the next few days, whenever Ruan Tang called my phone, it kept saying out of service area. This made her both worried and highly irritated, because Su Yi kept crying and looking for her daddy. Every night, it took a long time to coax her to sleep. Ruan Tang was mentally and physically exhausted every single day. At the same time, over these past few days, a large number of reporters had been blocking the company's entrance, severely affecting the company's normal operations. They were not there to inquire about the company's status. They were there to dig up gossip on Ruan Tang. After all, 5 years ago, the unwed mother Ruan Tang being kicked out of the Ruan family on her birthday was massive news that shook all of Donghai City. Now, hearing that Ruan Tang's daughter and husband had returned, if they could drop a bombshell scoop at this time, would not a promotion and a raise be easy to get? Ruan Tang refused to accept any interviews whatsoever. Even so, Ruan Tang's mood was negatively affected by these fly-like people. She looked quite haggard overall. Ruan Lan was even more furious. She paced back and forth at home, saying angrily, "I told Su Lai to take my sister out to lay low. But look at this Su Lai, he actually ran off himself at the crucial moment, leaving this mess for us. It is absolutely outrageous." It was no wonder Ruan Lan was so angry. In her view, whether a man or a woman, when faced with problems, one should take responsibility. But I clearly had not. On the day before Ruan Tang's birthday, Ruan Lan opened the room door and was just about to call for her sister. But she was startled by the sight before her. A scream got stuck in her throat, almost unable to come out. In the middle of the living room, I was sitting cross-legged on the floor, covered entirely in fresh blood. My face was pale white, and it was unknown whether I was dead or alive. With trembling hands, she checked my breathing, discovering that I was still breathing. Only then did she feel the blood flowing back through her body. And at that exact moment, I opened my eyes. With a deep exhaustion in my eyes, I said, "Do not be afraid. It is not my blood. I am fine. What happened to you? Where on earth did you go?" Ruan Tang was both heartbroken and angry. Tears swirled in her eyes, and her voice was trembling. I did not answer her questioning. Instead, I spoke as if talking to myself. "Ruan Tang, did you know that there are no 2 identical leaves in this world?" Ruan Tang frowned slightly. I know. With her delicate perception, she noticed that I, who was usually glib-tongued, had actually called her by her full name instead of calling her honey. "I went to a place very far away and found your grandma, but I was one step too late. She had already crossed the bridge of forgetfulness and drank the soup of reincarnation. She has severed the karma of her past life and is about to begin a new own. I could forcefully extract her soul and bring her back to life, to continue being your grandma and stay by your side. However, I cannot restore her memories. After all, leaves cannot be identical, and neither can people. That would just be an empty shell without memories. So I did not disturb her. I'm sorry. I tried my best, but I could not bring the complete her back." For a moment, Ruan Tang did not know how to respond. If anyone else had spoken such fantastical words, she would have rolled her eyes at them long ago. But my tone and expression at this moment did not seem fake. That regret and sorrow of being powerless made her deeply empathize and feel a sharp ache in her heart. Finally, she sniffled and said softly, "Hurry up and go wash yourself. You are covered in blood. I will mop the floor, otherwise Yi will be worried about you when she sees." I nodded, propped up my body, and stood up, staggering towards the bathroom, my silhouette looking somewhat bleak and desolate, as if I had suddenly aged immensely. I could indeed resurrect a dead person, but a grandma without her memories was no longer the kind old woman in Ruan Tang's memories. So I did not interfere with her reincarnation. But it was not that I did absolutely nothing. Instead, I expended Emperor's blood to bestow upon her a massive karmic fortune, ensuring that her next life would be safe, joyous, wealthy, and free of sorrow. Fortunately, I did not return entirely empty-handed either. I looked at a soft orb of light resting in my palm, and finally revealed a faint smile of relief. After showering, I changed into clean clothes. I looked much more refreshed, though my face was still somewhat pale. Just then Ruan Lan came home with it. Seeing me sitting on the sofa, the little girl's eyes instantly lit up, and she pounced on me. "Daddy, you are finally back. He missed you so much." "My sweet daughter, Daddy is home. Daddy missed you too." I happily picked Yi up, and spun her around in the air, making her continuously giggle with joy. Ruan stomped her feet in annoyance from the side. She huffed in mock anger. You little ingrate. You forget all about your auntie the moment your dad is here. I set my daughter down and looked at Ruan and Ruan Tang. With deep sincerity I said, it has been hard on you both these past few days while I was away. Ruan glared at me with her hands on her hips. You actually have the nerve to come back. You disappear without a trace. And do not even pick up your phone. Were you trying to worry us to death? I pointed towards the sky and spouted nonsense with a straight face. I went to pluck stars. I think you went to outer space and got your brain knocked silly. She could only silently make up her mind inside that she definitely had to make her sister stay far away from me. That entire evening, Ruan refused to speak to me, but she did not eat one bite less of the dishes I cooked. Her chopsticks moved faster than anyone else's, having absolutely no backbone whatsoever. She even turned her anger into appetite, eating more than usual. After all, I had returned to the heavenly court and brought back many premium ingredients, most of which were peerless delicacies that did not exist on earth. They were exquisite flavors that even deities in heaven rarely got to taste. That premium 10,000-year newer Hong wine. The moment the jar was opened, the aroma of wine overflowed. Ruan did not dare to drink too much either. She only carefully tasted a tiny sip. Even so, her little face turned rosy red. With hazy, drunken eyes, she slurred. Sis, did you know? Haitang Mountain has been entirely booked out tomorrow by a mysterious person for 10 million. I heard it is to celebrate a birthday. The whole mountain is sealed off. Ruan Tang's reaction was flat. She just gave a soft seemingly not very interested in the matter. Ruan slammed the table and said with righteous indignation, this is clearly targeting you on purpose, acting as if she were the one being wronged. In the past, when we celebrated your birthday, it was always at the Haitang Hotel at the foot of Haitang Mountain. Although it was not the best, it was considered a tradition. Is not this blatantly trying to stop you from going? Ruan Tang frowned and comforted her sister. Do not overthink it. They have money and can do what they want. It has nothing to do with us. Though she said that, she still cared a bit inside, because since childhood, she had always celebrated her birthday at the Haitang Hotel. Although ever since her grandma passed away, she had never formally celebrated a birthday again. She would still go for a walk there every year on her birthday. Riding on her liquid courage, Ruan pointed at my nose and loudly scolded. Look at how grand someone else's man is, and then look at you. I put down my chopsticks and looked calmly at Ruan. With an unruffled tone, I asked, if I said I was the one who booked it, would you believe me? Ruan scoffed loudly. You might as well say you actually plucked the stars. You brag without even drafting a script. After finishing her complaint, Ruan swayed to the side, collapsed onto the sofa, and fell fast asleep. Ruan Tang gave me an apologetic look. She sighed helplessly, and began to coax our daughter to sleep as well. The house finally quieted down. The incident of Ruan Tang being kicked out of the Ruan family 5 years ago was the topic of gossip for so many people, especially with Haitang Mountain being booked by a mysterious tycoon tomorrow. It instantly caused everyone to bring up the old story again. Ruan Jin wore a gloating smile on his face. Tomorrow, Ruan Tang is going to be utterly humiliated. The whole of Donghai City is waiting to see the joke. Let us see what face she has left to stay in Donghai. Song R, you could not be more comfortable right now. This woman actually made us kneel and apologize. It is absolute rebellion. She deserves this bad luck. Ruan Qingshan shook his head with some regret. It is a pity we can't witness that scene with our own eyes. Truly a great regret in life. Ruan Tang slept very restlessly that night. She had a dream. In the dream, she was alone, steering a small boat, sailing across an endless, pitch-black and profound ocean. On the sea, there was a long bluestone bridge connecting heaven and earth. Pedestrians hurried across the bridge, although their faces could not be seen clearly. Strangely, everyone was walking in the same direction. In the crowd, there was a kindly, plainly dressed, and very inconspicuous white-haired old lady. She was staggering forward. Ruan Tang, who was steering the boat, blinked hard. Her heart suddenly clenched. That old lady's silhouette was so familiar. Ruan Tang used all her strength to scream, "Grandma, do not go." But the elderly woman on the bridge never looked back. She just kept walking slowly, as if she could not hear her calls at all. Who knows how long passed? It felt like a day but also like a year. It felt as long as a whole lifetime had passed by. Only then did Grandma finally reach the end of the bridge. Her kind and gentle face smiled, filled with deep reluctance and maternal love. Her lips moved slightly, and only one sentence carried over. Tang Tang, you must be well. Grandma misses you so much. Ruan Tang desperately reached out her hands, wanting to keep her grandma, but all her efforts were in vain. Heartbroken, her tears soaked her entire pillow. The next morning, while still deep in a dream, I felt my body being shaken violently. Su Yi's porcelain doll-like face was written all over with anxiety. Daddy, wake up, quick, wake up. Mommy was just crying in her room. I naturally understood the reason behind it. I gently patted the little girl's head. Today is Mommy's birthday. Let us give her a kiss in a little while. Hearing this, Su Yi's eyes instantly lit up. She nodded her little head obediently like a kitten. Then, as if remembering something, she leaned mysteriously into my ear and whispered in a low voice. He prepared a gift for Mommy. It is a huge surprise. Looking at my daughter's mischievous and clever expression, I instantly grew curious. What kind of gift is it? Can you tell Daddy first? Su Yi immediately covered her little mouth, her big eyes rolling around playfully. Then she shook her head firmly. No way, it is a secret. I dotingly pinched my daughter's little nose, my eyes full of warmth as I spoke. You little rascal, go wash up quickly. We need to get ready to head out. As the clock hands slowly pointed toward the afternoon, Ruan Tang, who had been sleeping for a long time in the bedroom, finally stirred awake. A hint of confusion lingered in her eyes. Ruan Tang slowly opened her heavy eyelids and instinctively touched her cheeks. Then she looked at the pillow beside her. It was clearly soaked with the tears she had shed in her dream. She did not get up with her usual vigor. Instead, she rarely chose to linger in bed. She curled her body up and hugged her knees, painfully closing her eyes once more. But no matter how hard she tried to lie still, it was impossible to re-enter that warm dreamland. She could not return to the beautiful dream that made her never want to wake up. My magnetic voice rang out from outside the door at just the right time. My lady, time to get up and wash up. We need to go out. Ruan Tang was currently immersed in a deep sadness she could not escape. She pulled the blanket over her head, her voice small but stubborn. In her dream just now, she had vividly seen her late grandmother. It was a long-lost feeling of warmth, making her feel an immense resistance to facing the real world. Standing outside the door, I could sense my wife's sorrow. I let out a soft sigh, my tone filled with helplessness. A dream is just a dream, after all. Ruan Tang remained tightly wrapped in her quilt, like a child throwing a tantrum at her parents. Her muffled voice drifted out from under the covers. Still those same two words, I said no. I raised an eyebrow, a trace of a smile curling onto my lips. If you do not get up now, I am coming in to strip that blanket off myself. Hearing this, although Ruan Tang felt a bit nervous, she still braced herself and said, You would not dare. I do not believe you would dare come in. Suddenly, the door made a soft click sound. I actually pushed the door open and walked in. I walked straight to the bedside and unceremoniously lifted a corner of the quilt. Seeing the despondent look on Ruan Tang's face, I knew when to stop and pulled my hand back. I will give you an hour. Remember to change into a beautiful outfit. Ruan Tang froze for a moment and instinctively asked, For what? Today is not any special day. Why do I need to change specifically and go out? I gave a mysterious wink, not answering her question directly. I simply left an intriguing smile. You will know in a bit. Left with a man who walked away after only telling half the story. Ruan Tang felt quite annoyed in her heart, but out of some hidden anticipation, she still finished everything within the allotted time. Even Ruan Tang, who usually went bare-faced and never wore makeup, sat specifically before the mirror today, and carefully applied a delicate layer of light makeup, because she vaguely guessed that I not only remembered her birthday but had woken her up on purpose, specifically to celebrate her birthday on this special day. Ruan Tang composed her emotions. Despite her inner anticipation, she still asked with a cold expression, All right, what are we doing? I sized up the stunning Ruan Tang but did not answer directly. Instead, I asked as if to myself, How far is it from here to Hai Tang Mountain? Ruan Tang frowned slightly, her mind full of confusion. She had no idea why I was suddenly asking such an irrelevant question, but she answered nonetheless, about 20 kilometers. The corners of my mouth curled up slightly, revealing a confident smile. In that case, let me perform a magic trick for you. Consider it a small surprise to open the day. Before Ruan Tang could even react, I coolly snapped my fingers and chuckled. Close your eyes for 5 seconds, then open them. You will discover a whole new world. Though Ruan Tang did not know what would happen next, looking at my certain expression, she set aside her doubts and slowly closed her eyes. Then, she felt the sound of the wind around her ears change. The breeze blowing past carried a salty scent. She could even clearly hear the crisp cries of seagulls nearby. My gentle voice rang in her ear once again. "All right, my lady, you can open your eyes now. Look where we are." My words made Ruan Tang hesitate for a long moment. She slowly opened her eyes. When she saw the scene before her, she was so shocked she gasped for air. They were actually at the peak of Haitang Mountain. She was standing right there, looking down at the bustling view of Donghai City, and the vast, boundless sea in the distance. Ruan Tang turned her head in disbelief to look at me. Her voice trembled. "How did you do this? How is this possible?" In just 5 seconds, they had teleported 20 kilometers from their living room to the mountaintop. This was not a magic trick at all. This was something humans simply should not be able to do. I put a finger to my lips, acting mysterious. "Do not. If you must, just call it magic. Besides, this is just the appetizer. It does not even count as the gift yet." I tilted my chin up slightly, pointing at the magnificent scenery before us. I said grandly, "This sea and the entirety of Haitang Mountain. I have booked it all out for you." These words sounded exactly like a cheesy line from a romance drama. If anyone else said them, it would feel greasy. But coming from my mouth at this moment, it sounded exceptionally sincere. Ruan Tang looked at the man before her. Even though she thought the lines were cliché, she could not stop her heart from racing. She asked stutteringly, "What do you mean?" I gazed deeply into her eyes, explaining earnestly, "From now until tomorrow morning, there won't be a fifth person here. Only us. I had a friend help book this place just for your birthday. For some reason, the news leaked out. You do not mind being watched from afar, do you?" Ruan Tang looked down at the familiar villa district at the foot of the mountain, her gaze gradually turning soft. Through the clouds, she could vaguely see the path she walked with Grandma for years. This sudden surprise caused tears to slide uncontrollably from her eyes. How could she possibly mind? She was so moved she barely knew how to thank me. Just then, Sui suddenly jumped out from behind a large tree. "Happy birthday, Mommy. He and Daddy wish Mommy to be forever young and beautiful." Ruan Lan, who had been hiding in the back, also walked out with a complex expression. She looked at her sister and brother-in-law, her heart full of shock and a trace of inexplicable envy. In the morning, I had Ruan Lan bring Yi to the mountaintop to wait. She initially thought I was just daydreaming. Only after my repeated assurances did Ruan Lan arrive with a wait-and-see attitude. To her surprise, she was greeted respectfully by the staff, and led all the way to the summit without a single obstacle. Only then did Ruan Lan realize that all of this was actually real. I had truly gone to such grand lengths to book the entire Haitang Mountain, just to give her sister a surprise. Looking at her adorable daughter, a brilliant smile blossomed on Ruan Tang's face. She crouched down happily. "Thank you." Sui immediately gave her mother a loud, wet kiss. Under the little girl's expectant gaze, Ruan Tang carefully opened the gift. She found a vibrant drawing made with colored markers. On the paper were 3 people. It was a portrait of our family of 3. The softest part of Ruan Tang's heart was instantly touched. She could not help but kiss her daughter's forehead again. "Thank you. Mommy loves it very much." I then took a step forward, pulling a bracelet shimmering with a strange light from my robe. That was Yi's gift. Now it is time for mine. The bracelet was composed of 10 crystal clear stones, each emitting a deep, ethereal glow, as if they contained the stars and seas of the entire universe. Even Ruan Tang, who usually had no interest in jewelry, was deeply mesmerized the moment. She laid eyes on the bracelet. Seeing the adoration in my wife's eyes, I smiled gently. "Here, give me your hand. Let me put it on for you. Let us see if it fits." Ruan Tang hesitated for a moment, but looking into my sincere eyes, she nodded shyly. She slowly extended her wrist, which was as fair as white jade. After fastening the clasp, I mischievously gave her palm a light tickle. The tingling sensation made Ruan Tang flinch as if struck by lightning. She had been completely captivated by the bracelet, but now her face flushed a deep crimson. She looked up and glared at me coldly, though there was not much real anger in her eyes. I let out a fake cough to hide my embarrassment, and quickly changed the subject. "Do not glare at me, my lady. There is an even bigger surprise coming up." Hearing that there was more, Sui immediately jumped up with excitement and asked curiously, "Daddy, where is it? What is the surprise?" I patted my daughter's head, and gazed deeply toward the distant horizon. I slowly uttered a single word, "Wait." My smile hid a boundless confidence. Sui tilted her head, looking utterly confused. She continued to press, "Wait for what? Are we waiting for a big monster to come out?" I laughed, shook my head, and pointed to the setting sun. Wait for the dark. Wait for nightfall. That is when the magic truly begins. By now, there was less than an hour until dark. The afterglow of the sunset dyed Haitang Mountain in shades of gold and red, a breathtaking sight. I had already prepared a professional grill at the summit, along with various high-end ingredients. There was fresh seafood, a whole lamb, and various meat skewers. In such a romantic setting, the birthday feast would not be a formal banquet, or expensive Western cuisine, but the most down-to-earth barbecue. I was busy grilling amidst the swirling smoke, while Ruan Lan, and Sui sat together, watching the sunset's glow spill over the sea. The wind swept through the forest, and the crabapple blossoms across the mountains swayed gently. The only slight regret was that most of the blossoms had already withered or had yet to bloom. Looking at the somewhat desolate scene, Ruan Lan could not help but sigh. What a pity! If the whole mountain bloomed at once, it would be stunning. Hearing this, I only smiled faintly and did not respond, staying focused on the task at hand. I skillfully sprinkled a handful of cumin over the sizzling meat skewers. The three of them enjoyed the delicious barbecue, while waiting for nightfall in the mountaintop breeze, savoring this rare peace and warm family time. When the moon climbed high into the sky, and the entire land was shrouded in deep night, Ruan Tang put down her bamboo skewer, and looked at me expectantly, waiting for the so-called surprise. Seeing this, Ruan Lan nudged Su. The little girl immediately understood, and cupped her hands like a megaphone, shouting, "It is dark, where's the surprise, Daddy?" A crisp snap of fingers echoed through the night air. A smile played on my lips. With that single snap, the scene that followed left all three women completely stunned. The crabapple trees across the mountain, silent in the night, instantly seemed to receive a command of life. They all burst into bloom at the exact same moment. First one, then 100, then 10,000. Finally, countless blossoms competed in beauty, turning the entire mountain into an ocean of flowers. Furthermore, every single flower emitted a faint, soft light, like stars fallen to the earth. The once dark summit was adorned like a fairy tale world. The whole city was bathed in the scent of crabapples. This was not just a visual feast, but a baptism for the senses. The air was filled with a refreshing, soul-soothing fragrance. In every corner of Donghai City, couples walking the streets, elderly ladies dancing in the squares, even office workers lounging at home watching TV, all of them were deeply moved. They simultaneously looked up toward the sky, watching the glowing petals dancing through the air. Their pupils contracted in unison, and they all let out a collective gasp of shock. Some tried to reach out and catch the petals, but the moment their fingertips made contact, the petals dissolved into motes of light and vanished. They were impossible to touch physically. Others tried to take photos of this wonder to post on social media. However, all phones and camera equipment, without exception, displayed nothing but static. It was as if they were being jammed by some unseen power. At the same time, Tan Chong, hidden at the foot of the mountain, was leaning against a large tree, with a blade of grass in his mouth. He squinted at the celestial anomaly in the sky. He mused to himself. As expected, there is an unfathomable grandmaster behind Su Lai. This kind of technique is not something a common martial artist could use. It is absolutely earth-shattering. If I remember correctly, the grandmaster known as the flower fairy in her youth, her favorite flower was the crabapple. Although I had done everything with extreme secrecy, leaving not a single trace, Tan Chong realized everything, thinking he had easily seen through it with his superior wisdom. At the summit, Ruan Tang gazed at this breathtaking scene that no woman could ever forget. Tears of emotion burst from her eyes once more, blurring her vision, because she saw, to her astonishment, the narrow winding path she walked countless times with Grandma. It seemed to be specially illuminated by the blossoms. The flowers on both sides of that path bloomed exceptionally thick and beautiful, as if welcoming her return, and whispering a longing that transcended time and space. I walked to the side of the child's mother. My voice opened softly, "Give me your hand. Shall we walk that path together?" Ruan Tang extended her hand with almost no hesitation, placing her palm into this man's hand. Feeling the warmth radiating from his palm, the two fell into a tacit silence once more, simply holding hands tightly, accompanied by the rain of flowers filling the sky. They walked step by step onto the path carrying countless memories. This path was actually not very long, only a distance of about 500 or 600 meters. Usually, it could be finished in a few minutes. Yet at this moment we walked for a long 10 minutes. With every step taken, Childhood memories kept flooding into Ruan Tang's mind. Her grandmother's voice and smile seemed to be right before her eyes, intertwined with these crabapple blossoms in the sky. Reaching the end of the path, Ruan Tang stopped her pace, gazing at the void of the night sky, falling into a long silence. It was as if she were conversing with a departed loved own. I gently took her shoulder, pointing forward. The bridge Grandma crossed is called the Bridge of Forgetfulness. On that bridge I once promised her that I would take good care of you and ye for a lifetime. Grandma's spirit in heaven has agreed, so Ruan Tang married. Before I could finish saying marry me, Ruan Tang suddenly pushed me away with force. Staring with red eyes, she said, "Nonsense, my grandmother has been gone for 7 or 8 years. What exactly did she agree to?" I was instantly stunned, my face full of confusion. I complained wildly in my heart, why is not this woman following the script? Should not she be moved at a time like this? Seeing my dumbfounded expression, the corners of Ruan Tang's mouth curled up slightly, revealing an almost imperceptible smile. Then she quickly composed herself and regained her coldness. She turned around indifferently, tidying her hair that had been tousled by the wind. "Let us go. Thee and Ruan Lan are still waiting up there. Do not make them wait too long." However, at the moment she turned, with her back to me, her lips moved silently. It seemed as though she said 3 words, which drifted away with the wind into the sea of flowers. Whether it was "thank you" or "I am willing," or some other sweet words, even after many years had passed, this remained a mystery. Time flew by amidst warmth and emotion. In the blink of an eye, it was 11 of the clock at night. Ruan Tang glanced lingeringly at the scenery above and below the mountain, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. She let out a soft sigh. Despite the reluctance in her heart, she said rationally, "It is getting late. Thee must be sleepy. Let us go home." I smiled and nodded. Yes, it is time to go home, but I did not lead them down the mountain. Instead, I followed a wide main road toward the far east. Ruan Lan, seeing the route was wrong, hurriedly reminded, "Wrong way. There is only one building there, the Haitang Villa, known as the King of Donghai. It is worth hundreds of millions." Ruan Lan stomped her feet in anxiety. "Are you crazy? Even though you gave my sister plenty of surprises tonight, Su Lai. How can you be so overconfident?" Ruan Lan nervously explained, "Haitang Mountain might be private, but it is open to the public Monday through Friday. Haitang Villa, however, is strictly private territory. Before, many tourists thought no one lived there, so they climbed the iron gate to sneak photos. They were caught on the spot by security and reported directly to the police for trespassing." Ruan Tang also pulled my sleeve with uncertainty. "Su Lai, do not be reckless. Do not tell me that you even booked the Haitang Villa." I instinctively flicked Ruan Tang's nose. Seeing my lady's face showing signs of anger, I hurriedly coughed and said seriously, "What nonsense is that?" I pointed at the building still magnificent in the night, and said domineeringly, "That is our home. Coming back to our own home, what is there to book?" Ruan Tang was stunned again, her mind going blank. Completely unable to process this sudden information, she froze on the spot. "Come on, do not daze out. I will show you the new home." I took Ruan Tang's hand and beckoned Ruan Lan and, walking with large strides toward Haitang Villa. Actually, after I left Earth to handle things a few days ago, I sent out 2 divine thoughts. One was for the divine beast Taotai to find the stars. The other was for Tan Chong to buy Haitang Villa. The price of this villa was neither high nor low. Exactly 500 million. To ordinary people, it is an astronomical sum. To me, it is just a drop in the bucket. Under my lead, the group stepped into the gates of Haitang Villa with apprehensive yet excited hearts. Upon entering, they were deeply shaken by the scenery. The villa was saturated with a rich Chinese style, with pavilions, rockeries, and gardens all present. The layout was exquisite, and the interior decoration was luxurious yet elegant. This was not just an ordinary residence. It was like the palace of an ancient emperor. Ruan Lan's mouth hung wide open. At this moment, she was too shocked to speak. Even seeing the brand new property certificate on the table, which clearly bore her sister Ruan Tang's name, Ruan Lan still could not believe it. "You really bought it?" Ruan Lan spoke stutteringly, "and it only has my sister's name on it. This is 500 million, not 500 yuan. The massive Ruan family could not even afford a villa at the foot of the mountain. Yet I, who was despised and kicked out by the family, had bought the Haitang Villa at the summit. What an irony. If the people of the Ruan family knew, their faces would probably be swollen from the embarrassment. An inexplicable sense of satisfaction surged in Ruan Lan's heart. I, however, remained nonchalant. As if I had only bought a head of cabbage. It only cost 500 million. As long as you all like it, that is what matters. Listen to that tone. Only 500 million. Ruan Lan felt critically wounded by the boast. Zulai, I am so jealous. I am practically drowning in bitterness. With a thump, Ruan Tang knocked her sister's head hard. She scolded with a stern face. Do not talk nonsense in front of me. Act like an ant should. Ruan Lan rubbed her head aggrievedly, but her eyes could not stop wandering around the mansion. Her heart was full of envy, yet she was also genuinely happy for her sister. Handing a bank card to Ruan Tang casually. There are 20 million left in here. Ticket. Renovate it however you like. This time, Ruan Lan was truly envious, turning into a complete lemon spirit. She huffed, having money is not that big of a deal. I do not care at all. She crossed her arms, striking a haughty pose. Even if you booked the mountain tonight, used tricks to make a city-wide flower rain, and gave her this big villa. My sister has not seen much of the world lately, so she might be easily won over by your sugar-coated bullets. But I, Ruan Lan, am not so easily fooled. She raised her chin and declared, my future brother-in-law must be a graceful, gentle, and elegant gentleman of extraordinary character. I still do not like you. I did not take my sister-in-law's provocation to heart at all. Simply said, I heard your sister say you do not like the school dorms. So move in here with us. I pointed to the spacious hall. The house is huge anyway, and there are plenty of rooms. You sisters can live together. You can look out for each other, and I will be at ease. Ruan Lan, who was unyielding a second ago, instantly changed her face. She cheered, wow, brother-in-law, sis, you guys are the best. I want the master bedroom on the second floor. Do not anyone fight me for it. Ruan Tang and I looked at each other, both speechless. What an unyielding sister-in-law. For the sake of a luxury mansion, she even called me brother-in-law. Come with your auntie, we are going on an adventure. Let us see if there is any treasure hidden in this big house. Suddenly, only Ruan Tang and I were left in the living room. The atmosphere turned a bit awkward. Suddenly, only Ruan Tang and I were left in the living room. The atmosphere turned a bit. Suddenly, only Ruan Tang and I were left in the living room. The atmosphere turned a bit subtle. Ruan Tang gave me a sideways glance and huffed dotingly. What else are you keeping from me? From the moment she opened her eyes, I had given Ruan Tang far too many surprises today. It left her feeling a bit lightheaded, still unable to believe all of this was real. This man had vanished for 5 years, and upon his return, he had become unfathomable. He was definitely hiding quite a few things from her. A woman's intuition told her that this was just the tip of the iceberg. Looking into my wife's searching eyes, I said in a deep voice, now that you mention it, there is indeed one thing I have not said. And it is a big matter, a matter concerning our entire future. But this is highly confidential. You cannot tell anyone else. Lean in closer. I am only telling you. Ruan Tang's curiosity was piqued. She obediently leaned toward my ear, holding her breath as she waited for what came next. She wondered, could it be some earth-shattering secret? But the words I spoke instantly made her turn red from her face to her ears. That matter is the fact that I have liked you for a very long time. Ruan Tang pushed me away in shy annoyance and shot me a fierce glare. She gritted her teeth and scolded, you are never serious. Then, with a flushed face, she turned and hurried away. I watched her retreating back with a smile on my face. Was there something wrong with what I just said? It was just a confession. My wife is still too thin-skinned. Once everyone had dispersed, I stood alone by the window, gazing out at the mountains and the sea. My gaze instantly became sharp. With a sudden stomp, the earth trembled, as I uttered a single, calm yet majestic word, condense. Endless spiritual energy between heaven and earth began to gather rapidly, surging frantically toward Haitang Villa. Finally, on a level invisible to the naked eye, a terrifying pressure gradually took shape among the mountain range. It was a giant dragon formed by the convergence of spiritual energy. This was none other than a legendary divine dragon. Using a supreme divine ability, I had forced a true dragon vein into existence right here, as a guardian beast for our home. I glanced at the majestic spiritual dragon and remarked flatly, passable I suppose. Not as good as a true dragon from the immortal realm, but enough to guard a house. I had decided to reside in Haitang Villa for a long time, so naturally, I needed a guardian beast to ensure the safety of my wife and daughter. With that own step, the mountain spirit had transformed into a dragon. Just then, Su Yi's voice drifted down from upstairs. Daddy, come up quick. I hurriedly retracted my aura. Coming, I'm coming. At that moment, Tan Chang, who had been hiding at the foot of the mountain, rubbed his eyes hard. What had he just seen? That dark shadow flying across the sky. It looked exactly like a legendary dragon. But he was not sure if his eyes were playing tricks on him, or if he was so tired he was hallucinating. As he pondered, Tan Chang felt a drastic change in the surrounding air. Haitang Mountain, which originally had average spiritual density, was suddenly flooded with a massive amount of spiritual energy. It was as if the spiritual energy of the entire world was being forcibly drawn here. A light of self-assured wisdom gleamed in Tan Chang's eyes. He had heard that there was a realm beyond the peak of the 9th grade, known as the Divine Gate Realm. Tan Chang slapped his thigh. No wonder Su Lai had me by Haitang Villa. So this was all part of the Flower Fairy's plan. This is all for the sake of her illegitimate son. The Flower Fairy is truly terrifying, willing to exhaust her cultivation, just to create a dragon vein by force. He mistakenly thought the crabapple blooms earlier were related to the Flower Fairy, and filled in the rest of the story himself. Overnight, several bombshell news items seemed to grow wings, spreading through the entire martial arts circle. Haitang Mountain has become a spiritual vein. The Flower Fairy has broken through to the Divine Gate. Ruan Lan stayed in the second-floor master bedroom with the best view, while Ruan Tang and Su Yi stayed in the first-floor master bedroom. I stayed in the guest room across from them. Upon waking up, Ruan Lan felt inexplicably refreshed and her body light. The fatigue of recent days had vanished completely, as if she had taken some miracle elixir. At this moment, her mood was exceptionally grand. She felt as if the world was in the palm of her hand. No wonder Haitang Villa was called the King of Donghai. It lived up to its name. Ruan Lan hummed a tune happily as she opened the door and went downstairs, only to find that I was already awake, wearing an apron and preparing breakfast in the open kitchen. She leaned against the kitchen door, watching my back, and suddenly asked, Su Lai, I thought about it last night. Are you and my sister just in a fake engagement, just for the sake of it? I did not stop what I was doing. Without turning my head, I said flatly, this. I did not hide it anymore. After all, anyone could see it with a bit of observation. While skillfully chopping vegetables, I said calmly, find a way for me to truly marry her. Make her want to marry me of her own free will. Ruan Lan's eyes widened as she pointed to her own nose. You wanting to marry my sister is your business. Why should I be the one to find a way? I'm still just a kid. As if I had eyes in the back of my head, I said without looking up. In exchange, you can live here for free, and you can get a free meal every single day. I added the clincher. Otherwise, pack your bags right now. Go wherever you like. This house does not support freeloaders. Ruan Lan instantly flared up. You actually have the heart to kick out a young, beautiful, and lovable girl like me. Are you even a man? Does not your conscience hurt? Ruan Lan's heart ached. She was the recognized school beauty of Dongli University. She had countless pursuers at school. So many people begged for a chance to treat her to a meal. Su Lai, this insensitive guy, actually wanted to kick her out. It was too much. What a complete waste of a treasure. I turned around, spatula in hand. I'm not just a man. I am your future brother-in-law. Move aside, you are blocking the way. I need to get eggs. I opened the refrigerator door, took out 3 unusually large eggs, and skillfully cracked them into a bowl to start frying. The golden eggs sizzled in the pan. Ruan Lan poked her head in to look. She cried out dissatisfied, why only 3? Where's mine? I want to eat too. She hurriedly reached in herself, and pulled another egg out of the fridge. But the more she looked, the more off it seemed. Why is this egg so weird? It was 5 or 6 times larger than a normal chicken egg. I explained nonchalantly. Nothing special. It is just a phoenix egg, as if I were talking about a common grocery store egg. Ruan Lan figured I was just talking nonsense and stopped caring what kind of egg it was. As long as it smelled good and was edible, it was fine. Whether it was a phoenix or a common hen did not matter. While staring at the eggs in the pan, Ruan Lan muttered softly, fine. For the sake of breakfast and the house, I will think of something for you later. But no guarantees. I immediately broke into a smile. I served up the fried eggs. Sister-in-law, you can have my portion too. Eat 2 to nourish yourself. It has been hard on you. I was beaming with joy, thinking to myself, sister-in-law is reliable after all. This is when you need an assist from an insider. In truth, Ruan Lan had always been biased against me. The main reason was that I left without a word 5 years ago, making her sister suffer far too much. Her sister was kicked out by the Ruan family, and endured so much grievance and bullying while raising a child alone. I was the culprit behind all of it, But looking at it now, I really seem to have changed since I came back. Not only was my strength unfathomable, but I could also provide a better life for Ruan Tang. Naturally, her bias had faded quite a bit. I got off work right on time at 5 in the afternoon. As usual, I went to the kindergarten to pick up my daughter, Sui. Qian Xiao, the usually cheerful little chubby boy, was sulking today. His mood even made Sui, who was beside him, feel a bit unhappy. I walked over, crouched down, and asked with concern, "What is wrong? Did someone bully you at school?" Qian Xiao lowered his head, his eyes rimmed with red. "Our kindergarten is organizing an outing, and parents need to come along. But my mom and dad do not have the time. Everyone else is going, but I can't." Hearing this, I made 2 cloud candies and handed them to Qian Xiao and, "Go back and have a good talk with your parents. Work is important, but family and companionship matter just as much." Qian Xiao spoke with deep emotion while munching on the candy. "Uncle Su, you are the best. You can even perform magic to make candy. Auntie Ruan Tang must be incredibly happy to be married to you." I glanced at the distant sky and said wistfully, "I am not sure about the happiness part, but at least your Auntie Ruan is still alive and has not died of anger yet." The candy in Qian Zhao's hand suddenly lost its sweetness. "Fine, chatting with you adults is just too exhausting. You are always saying things I can't understand." Sui sat on my shoulders, happily eating her cloud candy. She spoke in a soft, pampered voice. "Daddy, I want to go on the outing with my classmates." Hearing my daughter's voice, my heart bloomed with joy. I agreed without a moment's hesitation. "All right, as long as Yi wants to go, Daddy will accompany you." Sui tilted her little head and thought for a moment, a trace of worry appearing on her small face. "But Mommy seems so busy. She definitely won't have time to go with us." I reached out and gently patted my daughter's leg, my tone filled with the confidence of the head of the household. "It is okay, I will talk to her. A true warrior dares to face death head-on, after all." Sui was instantly moved to tears of joy, giving me a loud kiss on the cheek. She shouted sweetly, "Daddy, you are so wonderful. You are Yi's big hero." I was instantly overjoyed, just for this kiss from my daughter. Even if Ruan Tang makes me kneel on a washboard later, it will be absolutely worth it. Ruan Tang was currently sitting behind her desk at home, head down, dealing with a mountain of documents. She said coldly without looking up, "I have an important meeting tomorrow. I do not have time." Sui was hiding behind the crack of the study door. Hearing her mother's refusal, those large eyes that were previously full of expectation instantly became a bit despondent. Keenly sensing my precious daughter's change in mood, I slammed the table hard and shouted loudly, "Woman, you are going too far. How can you let our daughter down?" Hearing this, Ruan Tang slowly raised her head. Those beautiful eyes now looked at me with an icy stare. She uttered a single, oppressive syllable, "Are you sure?" My momentum instantly hit rock bottom under that gaze. A fawning smile appeared on my face as I said, "The meeting can wait. Give me some face, won't you? I have already promised our daughter." Ruan Tang leaned back lazily in her chair, the corner of her mouth curling into a half-smile. She beckoned with her finger, signaling for me to lean in. I cautiously brought my ear close to her. After listening, I immediately jumped away in shock. "You want me to give you a kiss?" "No, absolutely not." Ruan Tang looked at this drama king, completely stunned. When had she ever said such a thing? She clearly told him to cook some crawfish and other delicacies to bring on the trip. Sui's weak voice drifted in from outside the door at just the right time, providing an expectant assist. "Daddy, it is okay to give Mommy a kiss." I put on an expression as if I were facing certain death, gritting my teeth and saying with great reluctance, "Fine, for the sake of my daughter, I will do it." The moment the words left my mouth, I moved with lightning speed. Amidst Ruan Tang's shocked expression, I gave her a quick kiss on the cheek, and then bolted out of the study. Once Ruan Tang realized what happened, a flush of crimson rushed to her face. Then, her furious voice echoed through the entire Haitang villa, "Su Lai, you jerk, get back here." Ruan Lan had just arrived home. When she saw her cheap brother-in-law leaning against the balcony railing, looking completely miserable, she could not help but ask curiously, "Brother-in-law, what is wrong with you?" Sui answered first, her face full of admiration. "My daddy is a hero. To take Yi on the outing tomorrow." He agreed to Mommy's outrageous request. After Ruan Lan heard the whole story from Sui, her expression became incredibly complex. She thought, how could my sister possibly make that kind of request to Su Lai? This was clearly Su Lai being a hooligan. Ruan Lan looked at my back and could not help but remark, "Brother-in-law, your skin is thick enough. You took advantage of my sister and still made Yi admire you. That is quite a move." I propped my hands on the railing, looking out at the distant sea with a profound gaze. Acting deep as I said, "The wind is quite noisy today." Yuan Tang happened to change clothes and come downstairs. Hearing the noise, she looked over. I immediately greeted her lazily. "Honey, your sister was just giving me some bad ideas." Yuan Tang cut me off coldly, her gaze slicing through the air like a knife. "Think standing on the balcony is too comfortable. Do you want to kneel on the washboard to clear your head?" Seeing this, Su Yi ran over, puffing out her cheeks to defend me. "Daddy can't fight with mommy. We need to happily prepare things for the outing tomorrow." Yuan Lan giggled with delight. She walked over, patted my shoulder, and said earnestly, "Brother-in-law, any act of selling out your teammates will be punished by heaven." I fell completely silent, quietly calculating in my mind what to prepare for the outing. Su Yi said the outing would last 3 days. The destination was Zhi Mountain, on the border of Donghai and Lucheng. As I thought it over, I remembered that the area had both a lake and a hot spring resort. Most importantly, there was a vast forest, rich in flora and fauna. It was indeed an excellent location. I silently rejected my wife's idea of preparing the food first, and then packing it to bring along. I am a man with a storage space after all. Ingredients, of course, are only most delicious when freshly prepared. Yuan Tang and Yuan Lan took advantage of the evening glow to take Su Yi to the mall for essentials like swimsuits. Since there were hot springs, girls always need to be fully prepared when going out. Shortly after the 3 of them left, I suddenly felt something and looked down the mountain. My gaze pierced through the void, seeing 2 figures rapidly approaching the perimeter of Haitang Mountain. Yen Tingshan was a white-haired old man, who had to gasp for breath after walking for a while, but his eyes flickered with a sharp light. "So this is Haitang Mountain." Wang Lu, acting as his disciple, reminded him somewhat hesitantly, "But master, there are rumors in the martial arts world that this is the blessed land where the flower fairy entered the divine gate realm. It is reserved for her son." Yen Tingshan suddenly felt a gaze watching him. In an instant, cold sweat soaked his entire body. He felt that if he moved even slightly, he would be crushed by that terrifying existence. Wang Lu was even worse off at this moment. Under that heaven-shaking pressure, it felt as if a giant mountain were resting on his shoulders. His knees buckled, and he knelt directly on the ground, howling, "Master, save me." Yen Tingshan could barely save himself, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Just as he was in despair, the pressure suddenly vanished. He immediately cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Senior, this junior meant no offense. We are leaving now." Yen Tingshan grabbed his limp disciple by the collar and left quickly. He did not stop until they were far away. Looking back at Haitang Mountain, which was suddenly shrouded in mist, Wang Lu coughed up a mouthful of blood and asked hoarsely, "Master, is the flower fairy at Haitang Mountain?" That aura was too terrifying. I feel like my bones were about to shatter. Yen Tingshan lowered his gaze, lamenting with lingering fear. "I am not sure, but there is definitely a grandmaster there. Since when did 9th grade grandmasters become so common?" At this moment, I stood on the balcony, which looked like a fairyland amidst the mist, stretching out my hand to touch the 10-foot-long divine dragon. I said calmly, "If you can avoid killing, then do not." Yuan Tang and the other 2 ladies finally returned home at 9 in the evening. Exhausted, they collapsed onto the sofa at the same time. Yuan Tang said flatly, "My decision on the renovation is final." Yuan Tang decided to save the 20 million yuan renovation fund. "I will renovate this house again as a dowry when Yi gets married." "Su Lai, what do you think?" I smiled and responded, "Whatever you say. You are the head of the household." These simple 5 words gave Yuan Tang an inexplicable sense of warmth. Hearing that a mansion worth hundreds of millions would be a dowry, Yuan Lan shed tears of poverty. She hugged Yi's leg and wailed, "Yi, Auntie's future depends entirely on you. You can't just ignore your poor auntie." Yuan Tang gave her worthless younger sister a kick. "By the way, Yuan Lan, I have contacted the moving company. Help me keep an eye on things tomorrow. We need to finish packing up the apartment as soon as possible." The next day, I sat in the last row of the business van wearing flip-flops, gazing at my wife dressed all in white beside me. I could not help but marvel, "Honey, you are so beautiful." Yuan Tang merely twitched her lips at the compliment, thinking to herself, a man's mouth is full of lies and deceit. Then she looked at the extra passenger, Qian Xiao. "Do your parents know about this?" Qian Xiao sat next to Su Yi and said happily, "I told them Auntie Yuan Tang would watch over me, so they let me come." Qian Xiao was also a total drama king. Fearing Yuan Tang might disagree, he started to wail. Looking at the crying Qian Xiao, Yuan Tang felt a headache coming on. Alright, stop crying. I will just take you with us. I really give up on you lot. Sui covered her ears, unable to take it anymore, and shouted, "Stop whining. Whine again and I will ban you from eating cloud candy for a month." This trick worked instantly. Qian Shao shut his mouth, not daring to make a sound. Qian Shao thought to himself, I am a mentally mature 6-year-old boy. I am definitely not shutting up because I am afraid of losing my candy. That would not fit my status as the boss of Donghai Kindergarten. Ruan Tang asked curiously, what is cloud candy? Does such a candy actually exist? How was it that she had never heard of it? Qian Shao explained that it was candy made from clouds. He said enviously, I really envy Big Sistery, to have such a great father like Uncle Su. I want on too. Qian Shao then uttered something shocking. Auntie Ruan, why do not you let Uncle Su be my daddy too? Since you and my mom are such good friends, she would probably agree to let me have a godfather, right? I leaned toward Ruan Tang and teased her with a grin. What? Can't bear to let go. This kid actually wants me to be his godfather. It seems my personal charm is quite immense. Ruan Tang's face darkened as she glared at me. Own more word and you are walking. Though she was fierce with her words, she actually felt that with a chatterbox like Qian Shao around, the journey was quite pleasant. Miao Momo, as the lead teacher, gave a 10-minute speech after arriving at Zhi Mountain. She then arranged for the parents and children to begin pitching their tents. Miao Momo smiled and beckoned for Qian Shao to come over. Qian Shao, the principal asked me to look after you. Stay with me these few days. Qian Shao replied bashfully, a man and a woman alone. Is not that a bit inappropriate? With a dark face, I grabbed Qian Shao by the scruff of the neck and handed him over. This kid won't give up on our daughter. I have to keep a close eye on him. I can't let him take advantage of E. Watching the other parents practice tent pitching techniques, Ruan Tang grew anxious, her forehead covered in sweat. I glanced at the manual and quickly began the assembly. I was so fast it was as if I were flying, becoming the center of attention. Seeing that their tent was the fastest and best built, Su-yi happily made a face at the two girls who had mocked her earlier. She could not have felt more satisfied. Watching me busy at work, Ruan Tang thought back with complex emotions to the question her sister had asked. If that incident 5 years ago had not happened, would she have been willing to know me and date with marriage in mind? Ruan Tang shook the unrealistic thought from her head. She laughed at herself. There are no ifs in this world, but the sense of security I gave her right now was very real. Many parents nearby cast strange glances at Ruan Tang. The women from wealthy families had contempt in their eyes. They felt that getting pregnant out of wedlock and being exiled was a supreme disgrace. Ruan Tang remained calm in the face of this. She had long since grown used to it and learned to ignore it. The rumors and gossip that failed to crush her would only become the fuel for her progress. Lu Chengyin, a middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses, chuckled as he shared some gossip. Have you heard? Haitang Villa was bought by a mysterious tycoon for 500 million. This news is absolutely authentic. As Lu Chengyin's daughter, Lu Mengmeng, saw her father becoming the center of attention, and proudly lifted her chin, she looked provocatively at Sui, as if flaunting her superior family background. Facing Lu Mengmeng's provocation, Sui did not talk back. She just puffed out her pink little cheeks, looking both aggrieved and incredibly adorable. Qian Shao could not stand by and watch anymore. He shouted decisively, Lu Mengmeng, how many times do I have to tell you? If you target the big boss again, I won't play with you anymore. Lu Mengmeng stomped her foot in anger. Ever since Su-yi came to Galaxy Kindergarten, Qian Shao spent every waking moment calling her Sister Yi or Big Boss. He had completely stopped noticing her. Lu Mengmeng gave Su-yi a harsh glare, then turned and shouted loudly to her father, Daddy, I do not want to play with them, I want barbecue. Hearing his daughter's request, Lu Chengyin agreed very readily. With a confident smile on his face, he said, Daddy will make barbecue for you right now. In his youth, Lu Chengyin's first business venture was a barbecue stand. Though he had not made much money, the skills he learned traveling the country were naturally quite impressive. Su-yi tugged at the corner of my shirt, looking up at me and whispering pamperedly, Daddy, I want to eat barbecue too. Can we make some too? Looking at my adorable daughter, my temper was extraordinarily good. I granted her every wish. And Qian Shao, what do you two little gluttons want to eat? I will conjure it up for you. My words made both Qian Shao and Su-yi widen their eyes in surprise. Then the two little ones shouted in unison, we want to eat meat. Lu Mengmeng in the distance had been watching the whole time. Her eyes darted around, and she suddenly shouted loudly, Look, Yi's daddy said he is going to perform magic. Lu Chengyin and the other parents looked over curiously. They thought that in this wilderness without any magic props, trying to conjure something up was simply pure fantasy. I ignored the mocking and ridiculing gazes from the people around me. I simply reached out into the void with a calm expression. Something appeared within my palm. Under the collective gaze of everyone, a whole lamb, already skinned, appeared out of thin air in my hand. The meat was fresh, as if it had just been prepared. The entire area fell into a sudden silence. Everyone looked at this scene in disbelief, completely unable to understand where the lamb had come from. Lu Qingyin's eyes widened even more in shock. His heart was full of confusion. How did he conjure that up? Could he be hiding some large-scale mechanical device on his person? Looking at the surprised expressions of the two children, I maintained that same gentle smile. I asked softly, besides lamb, what else do you want to eat? Su Yi and Qian Shao had not yet recovered from their shock. Hearing the question, they instinctively shouted in unison again, meat. We want more meat. I honestly did not know why these two little ones had such a deep obsession with meat, but with a wave of my hand, I took out quite a lot of meat from my storage space. The ingredients I brought out were no ordinary fare. There was not only top-tier dragon meat, but even extremely rare venison, all emitting a spiritual aura that drew people in. I knew very well in my heart, black dragon meat is precious, but they have already had it once. This venison, however, came from sea deer living deep in the ocean. Every single one possessed the cultivation of a venerable. Lu Qingyin was both shocked by my techniques and annoyed at having his thunder stolen. He spoke up sarcastically, what is a barbecue without a grill? The crowd was waiting to see me humiliate myself. A flash of light appeared before me and a tall grill appeared. It even included a complete assortment of sauces. The parents all looked at Lu Qingyin with peculiar expressions. The latter felt as if he had been slapped hard across the face. His face was flushed with intense embarrassment. While I was setting up the grill, I muttered to myself, let us have some seafood too. How can a barbecue be complete without garlic oysters? Following my words, a pile of lively, jumping seafood appeared before us. There were fish, shrimp, and all sorts of crabs and conchs. Every single one was incredibly fresh. However, this seafood looked different from what people usually eat. The oysters alone were as large as wash basins. They shimmered with a crystalline light under the sun. Some people in the crowd were already involuntarily salivating. The scent of the ocean wafted toward them. Just looking at such high-end ingredients made Owen's appetite surge. In contrast, Lu Qingyin's barbecue consisted only of ordinary meat and vegetables in a very simple style. It was nothing like my side, which was as rich as a seafood night market. Ruan Tang lightly touched my arm, her face full of astonishment as she could not help but ask, how did you do that? This is simply unbelievable. Ruan Tang recalled how I had teleported her 20 kilometers a few days ago. She thought to herself, how could this be something a human achieves? This man is far too mysterious. Henchman number Owen, Qian Shao, was already in position. He strained his voice and roared at the top of his lungs. Uncle Su is the greatest magician in the whole world. Uncle Su is simply legendary. Su Yi's beautiful eyes curved into crescent moons from laughing. She looked at Lu Mengmeng with a smile and asked, can your daddy perform a magic trick like this? Refusing to admit defeat, Lu Mengmeng shouted, of course my daddy can. He is a magician too. Daddy, you perform Owen for them to see as well. Lu Qingyin's face twitched violently. He felt bitter inside. I would love to perform Owen, but the problem is, I do not know how. He could only manage a forced smile. I will do it another day, but Lu Mengmeng would not let it go. Throwing a tantrum and on the verge of tears, she cried, no. I want you to do it right now. Su Yi's daddy can do it, so why can't you? Lu Qingyin's expression was unsightly in the extreme. Unable to lose his temper with his daughter, he and his wife had to keep trying to comfort the little girl. Inside, however, he was about to explode with rage. Lu Qingyin's wife curled her lip and said, what is there to show off? So he knows a few magic tricks. Magic tricks can't put food on the table these days. No one around echoed her words. Being able to send their children to Galaxy Kindergarten meant the parents' insight and upbringing were of a high standard. They all knew that with just that own magic trick, I could definitely sweep away any other magician. If not the best in the world, being number one in China was no problem. A hearty burst of laughter suddenly rang out. You speak with very little class. Everyone can see that for themselves. Is it so hard to admit that someone else is excellent? The speaker was a burly man. He carried the frankness typical of northerners. He raised a large wine jar in his hand. Mr. Sulai is, I am Mao Gaoshan, Mao Dou's father. You have the meat and I have brought wine. How about a drink together? Your magic is absolutely brilliant. It is definitely not some lowbrow skill. I truly admire people with real talent. I looked at this boisterous man and responded with a smile. You are welcome. Meeting like this is fate. Since there is wine and meat, let us sit down and eat. Although Ruantang was also full of curiosity about me, she quickly calmed her emotions. She warmly invited the other solo families to come and eat. After all, the ingredients I conjured were far too plentiful. Wasting food is a terrible habit. Sharing it together made the atmosphere even more lively. I also took the opportunity to make many new friends. While devouring meat brimming with spiritual energy, I drank the strong liquor in large gulps. I felt incredibly invigorated. Even Ruantang drank a large bowl of saber wine from Mao Gaoshan's hometown. Her pretty face glowed with a charming, drunken flush. She appeared even more radiant and alluring. Every smile and glance from Ruantang was full of elegance, making it hard for many fathers to look away. They could only stare blankly at this beautiful, moving woman. Then, a chorus of sharp gasps filled the air. The fathers had all been given a sharp pinch by their own wives. They grimaced in pain. Only Mao Gaoshan raised his voice and said loudly, Su Lai, you really are a lucky man. Being able to marry such a beautiful wife is truly enviable. Mao Gaoshan's wife looked at him with a half smile. Sensing a murderous aura, Mao Gaoshan's body stiffened. He hurriedly corrected himself, but still a bit less lucky than me. Ruantang chuckled, raised her glass and said, then let me toast my sister. Thank you for taking such good care of Brother Mao, and for giving us wine to drink. I also raised my glass and laughed. The toast to sister. In my next life, I will strive to be like my brother here, and marry a beautiful wife just like you. Mao Gaoshan's face was full of confusion upon hearing the first half. He wondered what this brother of his was up to. It was not until I finished the second half after a long pause that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Qian Shao looked at me with eyes full of admiration. Although Uncle Su might have to kneel on the washboard at home, this feeling of being a bit playful is truly joyful. The barbecue lasted from noon until late afternoon. Counting the kids and Teacher Miao, my side had fewer than 20 people, but everyone was completely stuffed. In contrast, Lu Qingyin had over 80 people. The grill was small, and he was the only one slowly cooking. Forget the adults. Even the children did not get enough to eat. Moreover, I was not sure if it was an illusion, but the parents eating at my table all felt their skin had become much clearer than before. Acne they would had for years had vanished. What surprised Mao Gaoshan the most was that he usually felt stomach discomfort whenever he drank, but this time he had wine and a huge amount of seafood, yet he felt perfectly fine. Mao Gaoshan tapped his forehead and thought to himself, I must be drunk and hallucinating. How could he, with a seafood allergy, be fine after eating so much? Only I knew the reason why. After consuming these spiritual treasures, adding 10 years to a mortal's life is no problem. Minor ailments would naturally be cured. I saw the truth but did not speak it. During my time living on Earth, sitting with ordinary people I just met to eat and drink was a rare and precious experience for me. Everyone praised, this barbecue is simply too delicious. In all my decades of life, this barbecue is definitely the tastiest, without exception. Facing the crowd's praise, I simply smiled, keeping my accomplishments and fame hidden. I did not explain the true source or value of the ingredients. Teacher Miao spoke up, the afternoon is free time. Parents can take their children hiking, to the hot springs, or rest. But please be sure to stay safe. Ruantang and I also chose to go hiking. Although Qian Shao really wanted to tag along, Miao Momo grabbed him by the scruff of his neck of fate. Qian Shao shouted in tragic indignation, Sister, Teacher Miao can take my body, but she can't take my heart. I will forever be your number one subordinate. Su-yi covered her face and whispered to us, Daddy, Mommy, let us go quickly. Qian Shao is so shameless. I am too embarrassed to even look at him. By 6:00 p.m., all parents and children had gathered. After the roll call, a bonfire was lit. The warm glow of the fire illuminated everyone's smiling faces. The children took turns volunteering to perform on the open ground. There was singing, dancing, and even poetry recitals. The group of parents watched on, brimming with joy. Qian Shao leaned in beside me with a mischievous look in his eyes. He chuckled and said, Uncle Su, I have a grand plan. Do you want to hear it? It is absolutely earth-shaking. I shot a glance at Qian Shao, then turned my head back to the children performing in front. I said flatly, I do not want to hear it. Nothing good ever comes from you. Qian Shao looked deeply hurt. How can you say that? I am the boss of Galaxy Kindergarten, and Su Yi's number one lackey. Can't you show me some respect? Qian Xiao thick-headedly continued to whisper. Uncle Su, I will be going on stage to perform magic in a bit. I want to conjure cloud candy. Can you teach me? I refused decisively. How can I just teach you a spell like that? What if you use it to cause trouble? Just sit still and watch the show. Qian Xiao pleaded. Uncle, I beg you. I have everything except a talent that can keep my subordinates in awe. Just imagine how cool that scene would be. An image flashed through my mind, a kid holding cloud candy, looking down his nose at everyone, strutting around arrogantly and stirring up trouble everywhere. Go play somewhere else or no more candy for you. Qian Zhao's grand plan for world domination was ruthlessly crushed. He could only mutter dejectedly. Fine, I will stop talking. I do not blame you for not understanding my great ambitions. I heard Qian Zhao's mumbling. The more I looked at this kid, the more he seemed to need a good lesson. At such a young age, where did he get these wild ideas about ruling the world? The bonfire party continued until 9:00 p.m. Teacher Miao announced the end of the activity. That is it for tonight, everyone. We have to get up early tomorrow to see the sunrise at the summit. And do not forget we will be collecting specimens. Just then Lu Chengyin called out to everyone. Everyone, please register your names with me. We will be staying at the Jiang family's hot spring resort tomorrow night. I need to arrange the rooms. Amidst sounds of gratitude, everyone went back to their tents to sleep. Lu Chengyin took a photo of the list and sent it to the manager, specifically arranging the worst rooms for me and Mao Gaoshan. Lu Chengyin went to sleep feeling quite satisfied. He muttered to himself, that is what you get for stealing my spotlight, and for insulting my wife. This time, I am going to make sure you suffer a little. At noon the next day, I was cooking back at the campsite. This time, I was only boiling simple noodles. But the aroma drifted across the entire camp. Quite a few people were secretly salivating. They thought that if they could just have own bite, they would surely transcend to immortality. Su Lai's culinary skills had reached a truly divine level. However, Su Yi pouted her little lips, looking at the plain noodles in her bowl with disappointment. Daddy, there is no meat. I want to eat meat. I won't have any strength if I only eat noodles. I said dotingly, all right, I will add some right away. As I spoke, I dropped several slices of meat into the soup. The fragrance became even more overwhelming. Aside from the thick-skinned Qian Xiao, no one had the nerve to ask for a share. They just ate their own food, which now tasted like sawdust. Secretly, they vowed to practice their cooking skills when they got home. After lunch, the 30 families boarded the luxury bus sent by the resort and headed toward the Jiang family estate. To everyone's surprise, the trees on both sides of the road were covered in balloons and banners. The scene was incredibly grand. The banners even exaggeratedly read, "Welcome, Mr." Lu Chengyin's wife pretended to be confused and asked loudly, "Hubby, who is this Mr.? With such a big welcome, could it be you?" Lu Chengyin chuckled and feigned modesty. "I suppose so. Young Master Jiang always likes these formalities. I did not expect him to go this far." "Please excuse the extravagance, everyone." The other parents gasped in awe, marveling at how much respect the Jiang family was showing him. Instantly, the way they looked at Lu Chengyin became very respectful. All sorts of flattery began to pour in. Mao Gaoshan, the burly northerner, watched Lu Chengyin showing off. With a hint of mockery curling his lips, he said, "How grand. What a show of power." Sitting in the row in front of him, I smiled but said nothing. I naturally saw through the trickery, but there was no need to expose it just yet. I just needed to wait and see what would happen. Soon, the bus stopped in front of the resort's main lobby. The lobby manager, Song Yen, was already waiting there. Seeing Lu Chengyin, he hurried over. With a professional smile on his face, Song Yen said, "Mr. Lu, you have finally arrived. The third young master specifically instructed me to take excellent care of you and your friends. Good afternoon, distinguished guests." The parents were all a bit reserved. This was one of 8th master's men. They usually never had a chance to meet someone like this. Now that he was being so polite to them, they could not help but feel flattered. Lu Chengyin frowned, catching the subtext. "Are you saying the third young master is not at the resort today? Did not he say he would host the banquet personally?" Song Yen said regretfully, "The third young master has an urgent matter and can't host you in person. But he said he would try to rush back as early as possible. We ask for your understanding, Mr. Lu Chengyin was very frustrated. He had spent so much time bragging that Jiang Zhou would host them personally. In the end, the man did not show up. Even though the welcome was grand, it was still a bit embarrassing. Lu Chengyin forced a smile to hide his disappointment. Manager Song is too kind. Young Master Jiang is a busy man. We understand. Everyone, please go to the front desk to get your room keys. Qian Shao asked, Sister, which room are you in? Are we neighbors? If we are close, we can play games together tonight. Ruan Tang looked at the room card in her hand. Her expression darkened. It read, Section C, Room 50. Looking at the others, they were mostly in Section B. They were clearly being singled out. Only Mao Gaoshan was in Section C, Room 49. Mao Gaoshan saw the situation and roared in anger. Lu Chengyin, what is the meaning of this? Why were we put in Section C? Lu Chengyin feigned surprise. What Section C? Is not everyone the same? I do not know anything. The manager must have arranged it. Mao Gaoshan laughed from sheer anger. Everyone is in Section B, except me and Su Lai, who are at the very end of Section C. How old are you to be using such petty tricks? Mao Gaoshan did not actually care about the quality of the room, but he felt that this blatant discrimination was a personal attack. He simply could not swallow this insult. Lu Chengyin continued to play dumb and asked Manager Song what happened. Song Yen cooperated with a sigh. Section B is currently under renovation, and we happen to be short 2 rooms. We had no choice but to arrange Section C. The other parents had mixed reactions. Some frowned, feeling Lu Chengyin had gone too far. Some gloated, waiting to see the drama unfold. And some simply sneered. Mao Gaoshan's temper flared instantly. He clenched his fists and was about to charge forward. If his wife had not desperately held him back, he definitely would have gone up to vent his anger. Qian Shao immediately said, Uncle Su, you take my room. I will go to Section C. Miao Momo also repeatedly offered to give her room to Mao Dou's family. Ruan Tang said firmly, word by word, no need. If there are no rooms in Section B, then I will pay for a room in Section A myself. It is fine if we pay for it ourselves, right? Song Yen shook his head. I'm sorry, we do not take outside bookings here. However, if Mr. Lu speaks to the third young master, perhaps an exception can be made. I said nonchalantly, you only need 3 feet of space to sleep. What does it matter where? Let us go look at the room first. As long as the family is together, it is all the same. I pushed open the wooden door to room C50. A musty smell hit us instantly. The sheets and floor were filthy. It clearly had not been cleaned in a long time. The environment was abysmal. Su Yi covered her nose. Daddy, Mommy, it smells so bad. Yi does not want to stay here tonight. I frowned slightly. I thought Lu Chengyin would at most arrange a room with poor decor. I did not expect him to be this malicious. In that case, there was no need to stay. Though Mao Gaoshan was furious, he considered that their luggage had not arrived yet. And Mao Dou said he was hungry. He hesitated. How about we eat here before leaving? The kid is hungry. No matter how much we are in a hurry, we can't let the kids go hungry. I will cook a feast for you, then we will leave together. As if by magic, I produced various ingredients, pots and pans. While I was cooking, a Mercedes sedan pulled up to the main entrance of the lobby. Resort manager Song Yen was stunned when he saw the car. 8th Master, why are you here? And without letting us know in advance. Then an unexpected scene occurred. I was busy cooking for everyone, completely unaware that 8th Master Jiang had arrived nearby. But then an unexpected scene occurred. Seeing 8th Master Jiang come to oversee operations, Song Yen reported everything that had happened today to him. The moment the name Su Lai was mentioned, 8th Master Jiang's breathing instantly became rapid. His voice carried an irrepressible sense of urgency. Bring me the list for this kindergarten field trip immediately. Song Yen was dazed by 8th Master's reaction, but he did not dare to ask a single question. He obediently went to fetch the roster. 8th Master Jiang seemed to find Song Yen too slow. Unable to wait, he shouted again, Su Lai, Mr. Is he really here today? Hearing the title Mr. Song Yen felt his scalp go numb. The title Mr. was not something to be used lightly, especially coming from the mouth of 8th Master himself. Cold sweat began to pour down Song Yan's forehead uncontrollably. His legs felt weak, and his voice trembled like a mosquito as he replied, Su Lai seems to be here. Upon hearing this, 8th Master Zhang's face lit up with irrepressible excitement. He waved his hand and gave a sharp command. Quickly, take me to him right now. Now, Song Yen was completely hesitant. He stood there at a loss, not knowing whether to reveal the truth. After all, he had assigned them to the worst room in Section C. 8th Master Jiang keenly noticed the strange look on Song Yan's face. His gaze turned cold as he barked. Did you somehow neglect Mr. Song Yen shuddered violently, shaking his head like a rattle. He denied it repeatedly. No, I would not dare, I would not dare. Even with 100 times the courage, I would not dare neglect a VIP. Deep down, he was still clinging to a sliver of hope. What if the Su Lai 8th Master knew? Was not the same Su Lai Lu Qingyin had targeted? 8th Master Jiang pushed open the door only to find the room empty. But when he saw the filthy, chaotic state of the room, his expression instantly turned incredibly dark. Is this the room you arranged? Knowing 8th Master's ruthless methods, Song Yen did not dare hide anything anymore. With a thud, he knelt on the ground and confessed the entire story truthfully. Disregarding his status, 8th Master Jiang ran toward us. He stopped a few meters away from me, calling out cautiously, Mr. By the lake with the children, Ruan Tang heard the voice, and her heart suddenly skipped a beat. She looked back. It was actually 8th Master from Luqing. Why was he appearing here? Ruan Tang did not know the true relationship between 8th Master and me. She just felt a baseline sense of unease. She quietly reached out to shield our daughter, Su, behind her. I remained calm and gently ruffled my daughter's hair. Then I looked at Mao Gaoshan and his family, who were about to eat, and said with a smile, dinner is ready. Then, my gaze swept toward 8th Master Jiang. The smile on my face gradually faded as I said flatly, since you are here, do not just stand there. Sit down and have a bite with us. Sensing the subtle shift in my attitude, 8th Master Jiang felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His body was instantly soaked in cold sweat. He would not dare sit down even if given 10 times the courage. 8th Master Jiang could only speak awkwardly. A humble smile plastered on his face. Mr. Su, you are too kind. I'm not hungry. I will just stand here to the side. Mao Gaoshan, on the other hand, could not stand the sight of it. He raised an eyebrow and said bluntly, "Oh man, why all the nonsense? If he tells you to eat, just eat with us." Then, under Song Yan's dumbfounded gaze, Mao Gaoshan actually reached out and forced the feared 8th Master Jiang to sit on a small stool. While handing 8th Master Jiang a pair of chopsticks, Mao Gaoshan said familiarly, "Old man, it looks like you work at this resort too. You be the judge." This Song Yan guy. Mao Gaoshan pulled 8th Master Jiang into a venting session, recounting Song Yan's terrible behavior from earlier. 8th Master Jiang listened while sweating profusely, nodding his head like a chicken pecking at rice. While wiping his sweat, he apologized repeatedly, with a sincerity that did not look like a tycoon at all. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm truly sorry. It was my poor management." Song Yan's face was now deathly pale. He knew he had caused a catastrophic disaster. Kneeling on the ground, his body trembling, he said, "Mr. Su, Mr. Mao, I was wrong." Mao Gaoshan waved his hand and said, "You do not need to apologize to us. We will leave after we finish eating. Or do you want to kick us out right now? We definitely won't linger." After Mao Gaoshan finished speaking, the hand patting 8th Master Jiang's shoulders suddenly froze. He finally caught the flavor of the words. "Old man, you just said, poor management. Whoa, are you part of the management too?" 8th Master Jiang's heart nearly jumped out of his chest. He waved his hands hurriedly, a sheepish smile on his face. "Not at all, I just manage things haphazardly." Mao Gaoshan did not suspect a thing and said grandly, "My name is Mao Gaoshan. I am in the liquor business. Next time you are in Donghai, give them my name. You will get 10% off at all the major restaurants." Then, Mao Gaoshan looked at 8th Master Jiang curiously and asked, "Old man, you have quite an extraordinary aura. What is your name? I will try to support your business if I have the chance." 8th Master Jiang gave a bitter smile and answered truthfully, "They all call me Jiang Laoba, 8th Master Jiang. As for business, do not use my name when you are out. It is bad luck." The name Jiang Laoba struck Mao Gaoshan's mind like a bolt of lightning, leaving him completely stunned on the spot. In the entire city of Luqing, aside from that legendary figure, who else would dare call themselves Jiang Laoba? There was no one else but him. The expression on Mao Gaoshan's face froze instantly. He stuttered, "8th Master, please forgive me. I truly failed to recognize a titan. I did not know it was you. I just had too much to drink." Watching this scene, I calmly interrupted everyone's terror. I said flatly, "All right, stop dazing out and eat. We need to head back to Donghai after dinner." Hearing this, 8th Master Jiang panicked instantly. As an old veteran, he naturally understood the weight of those words. If I left now, this connection would be severed forever. He knew that if I left here today with anger in my heart, we would become complete strangers with no further ties. All previous efforts would go down the drain. Immediately 8th Master Jiang said anxiously, Mr. Su, please stay. I will have Wang Long arrange the best room for you immediately. The kids are tired after a long day. Let them soak in the hot springs tonight. Su Yi's large eyes darted around. Although she was young, she could see that Daddy was very angry right now. So she immediately ran over and hugged my arm. The little girl acted spoiled in a soft voice. Daddy? He has not tried a hot spring yet. He wants to soak in the hot spring with Daddy and Mommy. Pretty please. I frowned slightly. Looking at my daughter's expectant eyes, my heart softened. I turned to Ruan Tang and asked, Honey, since he wants to play, what do you say? Ruan Tang was still a bit dazed. She did not understand why the famous 8th Master Jiang was being so incredibly polite to me. His attitude was like a subordinate facing a superior. But recalling the experience at Mingyue Tea House, and Ruan Lan's sudden change in attitude during the Su family incident, a faint suspicion began to form in Ruan Tang's mind. Ruan Tang knew very well that all of this must be closely related to some unknown relationship between me and 8th Master. She really wanted to find out the reason behind it. So Ruan Tang said softly, since we are already here, and he wants to play, why do not our family stay here for own night? Seeing that both my wife and daughter felt this way, I finally nodded, implicitly agreeing to the suggestion to stay. Seeing this, 8th Master Jiang finally felt his heart settle. At this moment, Su Yi gave 8th Master Jiang a mischievous wink. 8th Master Jiang saw this clearly, and he was moved nearly to tears. This little ancestor is truly my savior. 8th Master Jiang knew very well in his heart that without Su Yi's help, no matter what he said today, he would not have been able to make me stay. He engraved this favor deep within his heart. Grateful beyond words, 8th Master Jiang immediately shouted, Wang Long, what are you standing there for? Hurry and prepare the 2 best rooms. Have Mr. Su and the others' luggage sent over. Wang Long immediately replied, yes. Then he shot Song Yen a fierce glare. Lead the way, why are you standing here like a statue? Have you no common sense? Song Yen knew Wang Long was helping him in a roundabout way, giving him a chance to redeem himself through service. He nodded gratefully, scrambled up from the ground, and ran off to make arrangements. I glanced at the sky and said flatly, let us eat first. It was only 5:30 p.m., and the sky was still bright. But since the 5 dishes and soup were ready, it would be a waste not to eat them. Seeing that everyone had picked up their chopsticks, 8th Master Jiang then cautiously picked up a piece of food from the dish closest to him. His movements were as timid as a newlywed bride's. However, the moment the food entered his mouth, his body jolted, and his eyes widened in shock. What is this flavor? This is simply a heavenly delicacy. It was clearly just an ordinary-looking plate of tomato and eggs. Yet 8th Master Jiang was momentarily dazed upon tasting it. He felt as if he saw his childhood self running through the fields. Seeing 8th Master Jiang's mesmerized look, Sui exclaimed happily, Grandpa, is this your first time eating it? My daddy's cooking is the best in the whole world. 8th Master Jiang snapped back to reality and nodded solemnly. This was not deliberate flattery, but a heartfelt exclamation. He had never tasted such spiritual food before. 8th Master Jiang even had an illusion that the simple meal before him was not mortal food at all, but something akin to legendary immortal elixirs. One bite made his entire body feel light as air. An hour later, the dishes on the table were mostly devoured by the group. Only a few leftovers and cold remnants remained. Yet every face was written over with satisfaction. Mao Gaoshan let out a loud, unrefined burp. Rubbing his belly, he said, I am stuffed, that was too delicious. His wife and daughter were equally content. Ruan Tang, on the other hand, was much more reserved. She gently placed her chopsticks flat across the center of her bowl, wiped her mouth with a tissue and said, I'm full. The taste was indeed excellent. I looked at 8th Master Jiang, who was still savoring the flavor. If you do not mind these leftovers, you can keep them for tomorrow. They can extend your lifespan by 3 years. If anyone else had dared to offer 8th Master Jiang leftovers, he would have flipped the table on the spot and made sure they regretted it instantly. But since I was the one who said it, and he knew full well of my abilities, these seemingly ordinary leftovers were suddenly life-extending treasures that money could not buy. 8th Master Jiang treated them like priceless gems, carefully packing up the remaining food. He also let out a long sigh of relief in his heart. He knew this meal meant I had forgiven him. Just then, a sarcastic voice suddenly drifted over. Oh, Su Lai, are not you guys being a bit too frugal? Even leftovers are being packed away for the old janitor to take. Everyone looked up. The speaker was none other than Lu Chengyin. who had returned. Several other fathers were following behind him. Hearing the words old janitor, 8th Master Jiang's packing movements paused slightly, but he did not look up. Instead, he stayed focused on the food in his hands. Mao Gaoshan was startled. He had been fearless when he did not know 8th Master's identity, but now he was terrified. This Lu Chengyin is practically begging for death. Mao Gaoshan hurriedly barked, Lu Chengyin, shut your mouth. Trouble comes from the tongue. Learn to keep a low profile. Do not bring a disaster upon yourself without even knowing it. Hearing this, Lu Chengyin directly let out a disdainful laugh. This was the Jiang family's territory, and he was a close friend of young Master Jiang. In his eyes, he could do whatever he wanted here. Lu Chengyin mocked, what is the matter, Mao Gaoshan? Are you actually planning to go against me? I am telling you, I am a friend of young Master Jiang. Mao Gaoshan glanced at 8th Master and said with a strange tone, the issue right now is not whether I want to slap you, but whether this gentleman is willing to let you walk out alive. Mao Gaoshan's wife, terrified, tugged her husband's sleeve and pouted. Why bother warning him? If Lu Chengyin wants to seek death, just let him. Lu Chengyin feigned surprise. Is this janitor's identity that frightening? Is he going to eat me alive or something? This is absolutely hilarious. 8th Master Jiang finally finished packing the food. He slowly stood up and walked over to me. He asked cautiously, Mr. Su, how do you wish for him to be handled? I did not even spare Lu Chengyin a glance, but simply said with a calm expression, as you wish. Such a small character is not worth my concern. 8th Master Jiang bowed slightly and said, understood. That respectful attitude was as if he were facing a supreme emperor. Then 8th Master Jiang turned around. He looked coldly at Lu Chengyin and said, did you hear that? Since you understand, leave immediately. Do not be an eyesore to Mr. Lu Chengyin laughed with disdain. Mr. Ruantang, your husband really is vain, is not he? Finding an old janitor to put on an act. Are not you embarrassed? Ruantang was not angry. She looked at Lu Chengyin with pity. She knew that while some people are still breathing, they are already effectively dead and their fate would be worse than death. Just then, the hum of an engine was heard. A luxury resort sightseeing car stopped in front of them. Breaking the tense atmosphere, Wang Long stepped off the car, holding 2 gold-embossed room cards. He handed them to Ruantang and Mao Gaoshan's wife. Ladies, the rooms have been prepared. Song Yen, trailing a step behind, saw Lu Chengyin, his eyes reflecting a towering rage. But he did not dare explode in front of 8th Master and could only endure. Ruantang took Sui's hand and said softly, 8th Master, I will take the child back to rest now. I will leave the matters here for you to handle. Hearing this respectful title, 8th Master Jiang waved his hands in terror. Mrs. Su, you flatter me, just call me Xiao Bia. Please, take your time. Then, he turned and barked an order to the driver. Drive steadily. Ensure Mrs. Su and Missy reach their room safely. If anything goes wrong, you will answer to me. Mao Gaoshan's wife also took her daughter Mao Dou's hand. 8th Master, we will be going too. Although 8th Master Jiang was being very amiable, she still felt this old man was terrifying. Watching the retreating backs of his wife and daughter, Mao Gaoshan's lips moved, but he could not bring himself to follow them. He simply gritted his teeth and stayed behind to watch the drama. He thought that since 8th Master was so respectful to Su Lai, and he was Su Lai's friend, 8th Master likely would not do anything to him either. Lu Chengyin was still seeking death, mocking. Su Lai, surely you are not naive enough to think that by finding a random person to play 8th Master, Manager Song would play along just to upgrade your room. Other parents also shook their heads and laughed. President Lu, I just had a look. Those room cards actually said Section Villas 1 and 2. That is just too fake. Song Yen did not pay any attention to Lu Chengyin's shouting. Instead, he bowed his head and asked the old man cautiously, 8th Master, how do you want these people handled? Then an unexpected scene occurred. Standing on the side, I watched calmly as Lu Chengyin, this petty clown, jumped around. 8th Master Jiang suddenly remembered something. There is a young man in Donghai City using the name of the Jiang family and Jiangzhou to establish a company outside. This must be the person. 8th Master Jiang's expression turned flat as he said, all the families in Donghai start paying attention to his company immediately. He placed an exceptionally heavy emphasis on the words paying attention. Lu Chengyin and the parents beside him were all stunned. Looking at the scene before them, a terrifying thought flashed through their minds. This old man really is 8th Master. The moment the crowd confirmed this fact, all color drained from their faces. especially the few who had just been shouting. At this moment, they were so scared their souls nearly fled, their bodies trembling. 8th Master Jiang looked at me with an ingratiating expression. Mr. Su, are you satisfied with this handling? This scene falling into the eyes of the other parents left them utterly shocked. Looking at 8th Master Jiang, I said flatly, handle it your own way. Lu Qingyin's body staggered twice. If he had not been supported by someone next to him, he would have collapsed completely. The attention from major wealthy families that 8th Master spoke of meant a complete boycott. With his own simple sentence, 8th Master Jiang could easily turn him from the middle class into a penniless pauper overnight. He might never have a chance to turn his life around again. Under the cover of night, Lu Qingyin silently left with his wife and daughter. He booked flight tickets for the next day to a city in the north, leaving behind this Donghai city that brought him nothing but heartbreak and despair. Around 8:00 p.m., I arrived at a detached small villa in Section A. The interior decoration here was exceptionally luxurious. There was also a giant hot spring pool in the backyard. Su Yi and Ruan Tang were playing in the water. I did not go into the water. Instead, I lay on a rattan chair by the pool, lamenting that having a wife, a child, and a warm bed really was the best. Su Yi called out sweetly, "Daddy, hurry and help me splash Mommy. We have to team up and defeat the big bad Mommy. Daddy, come down and help." Ruan Tang glared beautifully at Su Yi. Why do not you team up with Mommy to splash him? Clearly, Daddy is the big bad guy. We should team up against him instead. Su Yi said happily, "Own mountain cannot hold two tigers. Mommy is a tigress, and Yi is a cute little tiger. Roar, so I am on Daddy's side." Ruan Tang's face darkened. "Su Lai, get down here, we need to have a serious talk. Is this what you have been teaching our daughter? What exactly do you say to her normally?" I was dumbfounded. I did not teach her this. This truly has absolutely nothing to do with me. How am I getting shot while lying down? Which jerk taught you this? I played in the water with Yi for half an hour. Ruan Tang was beaten back steadily in the splashing war, and finally had to surrender and admit defeat. Our family of 3 had an incredibly fun time. Su Yi high-fived me to celebrate. Justice always prevails. We defeated the great demon King Mommy. Daddy, we are the best superheroes. With an incredibly strong desire to live, I silently added a supplement. Daughter, actually we are the villains. Mommy is the messenger of justice. We just got lucky and won. Ruan Tang shot me a cold glare. This guy did not know the first thing about being tender and protective toward women. Was that even a splashing fight just now? I comforted her. Honey, although your defeat is regrettable, you really looked beautiful when you bent over to splash water. I was completely mesmerized watching you just now. Ruan Tang said angrily, Su Lai, you hooligan. I am punishing you to make crawfish for a late-night snack tonight. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. During our late-night snack time, watching Ruan Tang eating crawfish and drinking an icy cola, I shook my head helplessly and sighed. If you wanted a late-night snack, just say so. Why did you have to find such a clumsy excuse? While eating crawfish, Ruan Tang asked, what exactly is your relationship with 8th Master? I want the truth. Do not think you can fool me with lies. I looked at Ruan Tang seriously and said, do you want to hear the truth or a lie? Since you want to hear the truth, then I will tell you, he reveres me as if I were a god. Ruan Tang snapped in annoyance, speak like a normal person. Stop with this empty nonsense. What god? Are you bragging to me again? I said helplessly, it is roughly a cooperative relationship. I helped him out a bit so he is quite polite to me. Consider it him returning the favor. Ruan Tang was somewhat surprised. It is that simple. Then that time at Mingyue Tea House, and the time Ruan Lan was forced into an arranged marriage. Was 8th Master helping out because of you? I opened my mouth and said, yes, it is all because of our connection that 8th Master stepped in to help. Otherwise, with his status, why would he meddle in such trivial matters? Ruan Tang fell silent. She suddenly thought of something and asked with uncertainty. Then the cooperation with Huashang Company. Is that also because of you? I did not hide it and nodded. That is right, Huashang also did it as a favor to me, which is why they proactively sought to cooperate with a small company like ours. Ruan Tang's mood dipped a bit. No wonder Huashang, the industry leader, suddenly approached us for a partnership. So it was not because the company's products were good, but because of you. I comforted her, honey, whatever you do, please do not belittle yourself. Your capabilities are obvious to everyone. You just needed an opportunity. Ruan Tang glared at me. I am belittling myself. What do these little things amount to? Even if you plucked the stars from the sky for me, it would not make up for your mistakes. I said softly, that bracelet of yours is actually made of 10 stars. As long as you like it, even the moon in the sky, I can pluck it down for you. Ruan Tang rolled her eyes at me. You should drink a bit more wine. Let us see how much further you can brag. It is getting more ridiculous by the minute, plucking stars and the moon. Why do not you just ascend to the heavens? I said softly. Actually, I just want you to know. Your husband is far more reliable than you think. With me around from now on, you won't have to work so hard. I continued affectionately. Whether you suffer grievances in the future, or encounter difficulties, you do not have to fight through it alone. You must remember that you still have me standing behind you. Ruan Tang pouted. Save those words for when you become my official husband. For now, come back to the room with me, but you are only allowed to sleep on the floor. I sat by the edge of the bed. Seeing Ruan Tang's interested expression, I continued telling the story of Qing Feng Venerable. It was not until Ruan Tang fell asleep listening that I finally pulled the covers over her. I made a bed on the floor beside them, went to sleep, and had a dream. In the dream, Ruan Tang was gentle and virtuous. She was elegant in the drawing room and skilled in the kitchen. Her reputation for virtue was spread throughout all 4 immortal realms. Suddenly, I felt as if there was laughter by my ear. I opened my eyes. The morning sunlight was a bit dazzling. Then I saw my daughter lying next to me, holding a colored marker. Ruan Tang stood by the bed, covering her mouth and giggling playfully. This turtle you drew is not as pretty as mine. Next time mommy teaches you, you definitely have to draw it more vividly. I looked at this mother-daughter duo helplessly. What a virtuous wife and filial daughter. I confirmed that dreams and reality are indeed complete opposites. Why is my life so miserable? Su Yi hurriedly raised her little hands and said with grievance, Daddy, mommy wanted to draw it. He does not know anything. He is innocent. Daddy, do not blame me. Ruan Tang quickly changed the subject. That 8th master invited us to breakfast. I saw you were not awake, so I declined. So now we have to figure it out ourselves. I pointed at my face and said, So, my dearest lady wife, care to explain the turtles on my face? Is this how you two wake me up? Our family returned to Haitang Villa around dusk. Upon opening the door, we saw Ruan Lan sitting on the living room floor playing a console game. Ruan Lan complained in dissatisfaction. Stupid game, what kind of broken setup is this? I clearly dodged, so how did I still die? I am so mad, I am not playing anymore, I quit. Su Yi muttered, it is obviously because Auntie is too bad at the game, but she blames it. Even he can beat this level. Auntie, you need to practice more. You can't be lazy. Ruan Lan put on a stern face and flicked Su Yi's forehead. You little ingrate, you do not even comfort your auntie. Do you not know who dotes on you the most? Su Yi held her head and said in a soft, sweet voice, Daddy and Mommy dote on Yi the most. Auntie is mean, Auntie hits people, Yi won't be friends with Auntie anymore. Ruan Tang put down her bag and headed straight to the storage room to organize things. Ruan Lan sneaked over suspiciously. Sis, how is it these past few days? Is Su Lai impressive? Ruan Tang gave her younger sister an extremely annoyed glare. Looking for a beating, are you? How can you even ask such a question? What on earth is going on in that head of yours? Ruan Lan gave a playful smile. Sis, he told me all about how you two are just pretending to be married. I think you could consider turning the fake act into reality. Ruan Lan said with a serious expression, the most important thing is, he's Yi's father. Although he has flaws, he also has merits. I see that he treats you quite well. Ruan Tang knitted her elegant brows. Did he ask you to be his lobbyist? I knew that guy was up to no good. To think he even bought you off. How despicable, Ruan Lan said solemnly. Since things have come to this, I can't hide it anymore. Actually, I am the mortal incarnation of the matchmaker god on earth. I specialize in tying the red thread for destined lovers. Understand? With a dark face, Ruan Tang knocked her sister's head. If you act chunibyo again, go back to living at the school. You are acting crazy all day long. Can you be normal for once? I'm getting annoyed to death. Ruan Lan laughed out of anger. But sis, what I just said was serious. If you really do not like Su Lai, then step aside and let me have him. I actually find him quite pleasing to the eye. Ruan Lan muttered. Before I understood my brother-in-law, I only thought he was bad. Now, what a great guy. If you do not want him, I am really going to make a move. Ruan Tang gritted her teeth. You would not dare. If you dare to have any ideas about him, see if I do not break your dog legs. I mean what I say, Ruan Lan sighed. Forget it, I won't try to persuade you anymore, sis. You can't force feelings. Since you do not like Su Lai anyway, rather than letting an outsider have him, it is better if... Ruan Tang gritted her teeth. Just watch how I deal with him. Let us see if he still dares to attract bees and butterflies outside, even making a move on his own sister-in-law. He is courting death. Passing by the door and hearing all this, I suddenly felt some regret about asking my sister-in-law for ideas. Her professional level was right on par with Taotia's. It was incredibly worrying. Ruanlan opened the door and yelled frantically, "Sue, I was helping you. And besides, how am I not good enough for you? What is with that look of disgust on your face?" I silently glanced at her. "I really envy your optimism. Most people could not manage that. You should just focus on your studies. Stop thinking about all this nonsense all day long." I patted Ruanlan's shoulder with earnest sincerity. "Sister-in-law, please do not sabotage me. It was my mistake for asking for your help earlier." "I apologize." Ruan Tang stared at me and said word by word, "If you dare lay a single finger on my sister, I will absolutely make you pay. No one can save you. Remember that. I guarantee, do not worry. I am only interested in you. Other women are nothing but fleeting clouds in my eyes. I absolutely won't give them a second glance." "You have to believe me." Ruan Tang hesitated for a long time before making up her mind. "I will try my best to look for your good points. As for whether we can be together, I can't make any guarantees. Also, you must swear not to touch Ruanlan." I complained silently in my heart, and secretly apologized to Ruanlan. I thought my sister-in-law was a useless teammate, but it turned out she was a master. She settled it in just a few words. Tan Chong opened his eyes on the bed in his rented house. He felt a dense murderous intent. With a complex expression, he said, "Are they finally here, the Jiang family shadows?" Watching the 10 people walk out, Tan Chong shook his head. 4 teams, 10 people in total, and all of them are peak 6th grade shadows. The Jiang family underestimates me too much. I stood on the 2nd floor balcony, gazing blankly at the night sky. I had long sensed what was happening at the foot of the mountain, but I did not even have the interest to take a single glance. They were truly too weak. I let out a soft and looked toward the foot of the mountain. The battle between Tan Chong and the Jiang family shadows had reached a fever pitch. 3 of the 10 shadows had fallen, while Tan Chong remained entirely unharmed. I saw that the remaining 7 shadows of the Jiang family did not panic. Instead, they maneuvered left and right, forming a circle to surround Tan Chong. A massive amount of spiritual energy surged in, and their cultivation realms skyrocketed. I recognized this as the blood kill array. It burned the lifespan, essence, energy, and spirit of the array setters, just to reach the absolute peak for a brief moment. This array formation originated from the ancient demon race. The corners of my mouth curled up. I realized that Earth seemed to hide quite a few secrets. Even the branding the Jiang family used to control the shadows bore the shape of the branding the ancient demon race used to control lower races. Tan Chong had already refined the void pierce into his innate divine ability. The sharp claws formed by mist rapidly expanded and exploded. All 7 shadows were sent flying backward simultaneously, vomiting blood non-stop. Feeling a bit bored, I withdrew my gaze. It was ultimately a broken array. Not even a billionth as powerful as the true blood kill array. Otherwise, Tan Chong would have died long ago and could not possibly have broken it. Su Yi did not have to go to kindergarten today. So, for once, Ruan Tang was not in a rush to go to the office to handle work. Instead, she was slowly enjoying her breakfast. At exactly 9:00 a.m., an incredibly exaggerated shout suddenly came from the 2nd floor of the villa. Ruanlan's highly penetrating voice echoed through the hall. Ruanlan rushed down the stairs in a whirlwind. She dashed to the dining table with a face full of shock and yelled, "Big disaster." Su Yi held her milk cup with both little hands and took a sip. She then took a bite of her fried egg. Lifting her adorable little face, she asked curiously, "Auntie, what is wrong?" Ruanlan excitedly pointed at her own eyes. She yelled in disbelief, "Just now, I discovered that my myopia, which I have had for years, is miraculously cured. I just slept for a night, and when I woke up, the world had become incredibly clear. I can even see the dust in the corners of the wall clearly." Hearing this, Ruan Tang also put down her chopsticks, looking at her younger sister in surprise. Then, she subconsciously looked at the calm man beside her. I sat at the dining table, still maintaining my nonchalant demeanor. A faint smile curled at the corners of my mouth. I said softly, "No need to thank me specially." Ruan Tang frowned slightly and asked strangely, "Why would we thank you?" "I was thinking of having you take Ruanlan to the hospital today for a checkup, to see exactly what is going on." Hearing this, the smile on my face stiffened slightly. The modest words I had prepared instantly got stuck in my throat. I could only fall into a helpless silence. It was obvious Ruanlan was in an exceptionally good mood. She happily hummed an unknown tune. I was woken up twice while sleeping this morning, and I vaguely heard Grandpa calling my name. Hearing this, Ruan Tang also showed a look of surprise. What a coincidence. I think I heard someone calling you in my sleep too. The voice was very clear. The two sisters looked at each other in dismay, both seeing a trace of disbelief in the other's eyes. Could this be the legendary telepathy? Actually, it was not telepathy at all. Someone had indeed been calling out. I shook my head helplessly, thinking to myself, the thought process of these two sisters is truly peculiar. I slowly stood up. Since we are done eating, I will take ye out for a walk. You two sisters remember to wash the dishes when you are finished. Ruanlan immediately patted her chest and guaranteed, brother-in-law, you can rest assured and leave it to my sister. Although she looks aloof and cold, she is absolutely a master when it comes to chores. Do not be fooled by her icy exterior. Deep down, she is a girl with an incredibly soft heart. She is definitely the standard model of a virtuous wife and loving mother. Hearing this, Ruan Tang shot a fierce glare at her filterless younger sister. She scolded in annoyance, just eat your food. What kind of nonsense are you blabbering about? Ruanlan was not afraid in the slightest. She curled her lip and retorted, it is not nonsense. Ruan Tang, put aside your prejudices, and give an objective evaluation of our brother-in-law's looks. How are they? Ruan Tang was taken aback for a moment. She then turned her head and carefully examined me. After hesitating for a long time, she finally gave a fair assessment. He's alright. He does not count as ugly. Hearing the word alright, Ruanlan fell into a long silence, as if she had developed a massive doubt about her sister's sense of aesthetics. This is a complete waste of a heavenly treasure. To be reasonable, my appearance belonged to the type that seemed ordinary at first glance. But the more you looked, the more harmonious my facial features felt. It was a unique type that grew increasingly pleasing to the eye the more you observed. This feeling was not simply being handsome. It was truly pleasing to the eye and soul. To use mysterious Taoist terminology, this was called the realm of unity of heaven and humanity, returning to the original simplicity. Ruanlan then looked at my eyes again. They were so profound, as if hiding a vast universe. Own glance, and you would know this man carried countless untold stories. This kind of man was incredibly captivating. His entire being exuded a mysterious aura. If he were to stand in the wind carrying a jug of aged wine, which young girl in this world could resist? The unattainable pearl of the Su family in Hang City, Su Dai, just because she took an extra glance at me in the crowd, had completely fallen into the depths of those profound eyes. Yet Ruan Tang actually had the nerve to say it was just alright. Ruanlan curled her lip, shook her head helplessly and sighed. Ah, women. You really say one thing but mean another. Rendered speechless by her sister's words, Ruan Tang could only silently lower her head and drink her porridge. In her heart she had to admit, if she cast aside her prejudice, I was indeed highly outstanding. Sui waved her little spoon in the air and shouted sweetly, Mommy, when ye grows up, I want to find a husband as amazing and as handsome as Daddy. Sui raised her soft pink little fists, her eyes full of little stars. That was the undisguised adoration and love for her father, as if her father was her entire world. I ruffled my daughter's hair dotingly, and laughed out loud. Then ye might have to grow old alone. Your daddy has been the strongest in the past 1,000,000 years. Hearing this, Sui was not disappointed at all. Instead, she looked at me with even more adoration. She cheered loudly, wow, Daddy is so amazing. Daddy is number one. Standing to the side, Ruanlan was startled by her brother-in-law's sudden narcissism. She could not help but sigh, if the heavens had not birthed you, Su Lai, the world of handsome men would be a long, dark night for eternity. Hearing the phrasing coming out of her sister's mouth, Ruan Tang immediately put on a stern face, glared at her and scolded. As a young lady, you need to watch what you say. Ruanlan blinked her eyes innocently. 3 question marks practically popped up above her head. How did I not watch what I say? This was a very cultured exclamation. Ruan Tang seemed to be touched by the phrase as well. She murmured softly, I remember the original quote should be, if the heavens had not birthed Qingfeng, the human race would be a long, dark night for eternity. Ruanlan cried out dramatically, Qingfeng. Sis, who is Qingfeng? Are you seeing someone behind brother-in-law's back? That name sounds like a man's. Ruan Tang rubbed her forehead helplessly and sighed. I would actually like to meet this legendary figure, but he is just a fictional character. He does not exist in reality at all. Ruan Tang continued to lecture. Also, you should watch less of those trashy soap operas and read more books. What kind of nonsense is going through your head all day long? Ruan Lan made a funny face at her sister. I will watch them, I will. Not only will I watch them, but I will also bring Yi to watch them with me. Seeing that these two sisters were about to start bickering again, I took my daughter's little hand and said gently, all right, stop arguing, let us go. We are heading out. Although today was the weekend, Su Yi still insisted on going to Galaxy Kindergarten to take a look, because her good friend was there. Sure enough, the boss of Donghai Kindergarten, Qian Xiao, was still swinging alone on the swing. He stared blankly at a patch of clouds in the sky, his eyes looking melancholy. Qian Xiao was currently looking up at a cloud on the horizon shaped like cotton candy. He was seriously wondering what that thing would taste like. Su Yi ran over on her short little legs. She sighed with an old-fashioned tone. Being your big boss is so exhausting. I was afraid you would be lonely here by yourself, so I even had to come play with you on the weekend. Snapping back to reality, Qian Xiao saw Su Yi and was so moved he almost burst into tears. He choked out, "Big Sister Yi, I knew you would not abandon me." Su Yi patted his shoulder to comfort him like a little adult. "Do not cry. You can't cry easily like a 3-year-old kid." Standing to the side, I listened to the conversation between these two little ones. Black lines of exasperation forming on my forehead. I thought to myself, you two combined are barely over 10 years old. Qian Xiao sniffled and tried hard to hold back his tears, but he still looked at Su Yi with an extremely aggrieved gaze, as if he were a young wife who had been abandoned for years. Suddenly, Su Yi pointed at the distant horizon and shouted in pleasant surprise, "Daddy, look, a rainbow appeared in the sky." "What a beautiful rainbow." I looked in the direction my daughter was pointing, smiled and said, "Since there is a rainbow, then we won't eat clouds today. Let us try a different flavor." Qian Xiao felt a bit disappointed hearing this. He had been eyeing that white cloud in the sky for a long time. "We are not eating clouds anymore. Then what will I eat?" Su Yi looked at her daddy with a face full of expectation, her big eyes sparkling as she asked, "Daddy, what are we eating then? Is the rainbow even tastier?" Looking at the expectant eyes of the two children, I gave a mysterious smile and said, "When you encounter a rainbow, of course you must taste the rainbow. Today, I will let you try the taste of a rainbow." Hearing this, Qian Xiao opened his mouth wide in shock, his jaw practically dropping to the ground. "You can eat a rainbow too. Uncle Su, you are not tricking us, are you?" I gave him a flat glance and said with a straight face, "Originally, they can't be eaten, so you should not eat any later. I will give it all to my daughter." Qian Xiao was instantly dumbfounded. He wailed in his heart, "Uncle Su, are you a devil? You even trick kids. And you are so biased, that is too much bullying." 1 minute later, Qian Xiao and Su Yi were each holding a giant, 7-colored lollipop. Both little ones had incredibly happy and sweet smiles blooming on their faces, while delicious clouds can be found by the thousands. An interesting rainbow is owned in 10,000. With just one bite, 7 different fruit flavors burst in the mouth simultaneously. That wondrous sensation made Owen sincerely exclaim, "How can a rainbow be this delicious?" This was simply the most delicious candy in the world, bar none. As Qian Xiao ate, his face was suddenly covered in tears. While crying, he whimpered, "Uncle Su, have you ever eaten a rainbow? This is the taste of love." Wiping his tears, Qian Xiao continued to lament, "This is the taste of first love. I feel like I have fallen in love again. Even though I have not even held little Fang's hand from kindergarten yet." I looked at this little chubby boy, utterly speechless. I thought to myself, you said the exact same thing when you ate the cloud earlier. Is not this kid's emotional capacity a bit too overflowing? At this moment, I was in the kitchen, preparing delicacies from the immortal realm. Meanwhile, Ruan Lan received a call from her eldest uncle, Ruan Qingshan. Her wonderful mood over the past few days was completely ruined. On the other end of the line, Ruan Qingshan roared angrily, "Ruan Lan, your sister ruined our family's reputation, and now you are doing the exact same thing. You have truly disgraced the ancestors of the Ruan family." Hearing this baffling accusation, Ruan Lan furrowed her brows tightly. She shot back with a hint of dissatisfaction, "Uncle, what do you mean by that? Speak clearly." Ruan Qingshan felt exceptionally furious in his heart. He gritted his teeth and interrogated, "Stop playing dumb. Are you living in Haitang Villa? That is the most expensive mansion in all of Donghai." Ruan Lan was somewhat surprised. The fact that she was living in Haitang Villa was something she had never told any outsider. "How did you know? Are you stalking me?" Ruan Qingshan said furiously, "I saw it with my own eyes." Do I even need to stalk you? At this moment, the phone was on speaker. Ruan Jin, Ruan Qingshan, and the others were all present, listening in. Filled with jealousy, her eldest aunt, Song Are You, could not help but interject sourly, to think Ruan Lan can actually live in Haitang Villa. She must have a very deep relationship with that 8th master. Listening to the various sarcastic and mocking remarks coming from the phone, Ruan Lan's temper also flared up. Is there something wrong with your heads? Just spouting nonsense out of nowhere. Song Are You was so angry her nose nearly went crooked. She screamed, "You uneducated wretched girl." She had not expected the usually well-behaved Ruan Lan to have such a sharp tongue. Ruan Lan gave a cold laugh and said indifferently, "Those who insult others will always be insulted themselves. Also, let me tell you, Haitang Villa is the house my brother-in-law bought for my sister." After delivering that sentence, Ruan Lan gave them no chance to react whatsoever. She pressed the hang-up button without the slightest hesitation. On the other end of the line, the members of the Ruan family were utterly dumbfounded. Brother-in-law, could it be that 8th master actually took a fancy to Ruan Tang? Or did Ruan Tang find some other man who could afford Haitang Villa? Ruan Jin guessed in a low voice, "This, brother-in-law, could it be that Su Lai? After all, Su Lai is Su Yi's biological father. He is the only one she would call brother-in-law." A dead silence fell over the room. Ruan Qingshan was the first to shake his head. He curled his lip in disdain. Look at that guy and you know he is a penniless loser. It is absolutely impossible for it to be him. Ruan Lan angrily tossed her phone aside. Sprawling on the sofa without any regard for her image, she said in frustration, "Sis, uncle and the others know I live here now. They are definitely plotting against us again." Ruan Tang had first-hand experience of her eldest uncle's family's greed, especially after enduring endless humiliation the last time she returned to the Ruan family. Her heart had been thoroughly broken, and she had no desire to look back. At this moment, Ruan Tang simply flipped calmly through the magazine in her hands. She said flatly, "Let them plot however they want. Anyway, I have no connection with them anymore, and I won't be going back." Ruan Lan curled her lip. "It is easy to say that. You might be able to harden your heart and ignore grandpa and uncle's family. But what about our parents? Can you really completely sever ties with them?" Hearing this, Ruan Tang fell into silence. The magazine in her hands remained unturned for a long time. A trace of struggle and pain flashed through her eyes. They were, after all, the parents who brought her into this world and raised her. Right on time, I walked out of the kitchen carrying plates. Teppanyaki starfish, stir-fried sea deer, steamed kunping eggs, and roasted phoenix. The dishes are ready, time to eat. Hearing the names of the dishes, Ruan Lan immediately bounced up from the sofa. "Brother-in-law, I'm not trying to criticize you, but the names of these dishes are too flashy and ridiculous. They sound like something out of a fantasy novel." Even though Ruan Lan muttered complaints, her speed in washing her hands and getting to the table was faster than anyone else's. She chuckled as she looked at the dishes on the table, complete with perfect color, aroma, and taste. Her movements were swifter than anyone else's. Ruan Lan felt it was an absolute blessing to be able to mooch off my cooking every day. She would not trade these god-tier days for even a real god. Who even needs a boyfriend anymore? I took off my apron and looked at her with a half smile. "Flashy, you actually have the option not to eat. Please do not force yourself." "I can eat your share." Ruan Lan pretended not to hear me. She picked up a piece of fish with her chopsticks and put it into her mouth. Her eyes instantly narrowed into slits of pleasure. She mumbled indistinctly, "So delicious." After Ruan Tang gently picked up a few pieces of food for our daughter, she also picked up her chopsticks. The delicious taste entering her mouth made her freeze momentarily. How wonderful would it be if life could always be like this? Suddenly, her daughter's confused and childish voice drifted into her ear. "Mommy, mommy." It pulled Ruan Tang back from her deep thoughts. Snapping back to reality, Ruan Tang asked gently, "What is wrong?" Looking at the concerned little face of her daughter, a warm current surged through her heart. Sui blinked her big eyes and asked with concern, "Mommy, you were just spacing out and not eating. Did you think of something sad? You can tell me, you know." Ruan Tang stroked his hair and smiled. "No, Mommy was just thinking about something happy. Hurry up and eat. After dinner, Mommy will take you upstairs to wash up." For some unknown reason, Sui suddenly cast a stealthy glance at me, then lowered her head. She muttered to herself in a low voice, "He has to be good this time." Hearing this, Ruan Tang froze instantly. 3 giant question marks popped up in her mind. She remembered the time Yi took the tablet into my room. Ruan Lan was even more dumbfounded. "Brother-in-law, this is way too bold of you. If you wanted to see cool photos of my sister, you should have just said so. This is not how you court a woman. I clutched my chest. I felt an immense pain right there. Even when I fought against the gods and demons of the heavens for hundreds or thousands of years, I had never felt as terrible as I did right now. Only then did Sui realize she seemed to have caused trouble. A beat too late, she covered her mouth with her small hands and said weakly, "Daddy." He accidentally let it slip. Seeing the murderous glare in Wan Tang's eyes, Sui shrank her neck. Mommy knows too. What should we do? Is Daddy going to get beaten to death by Mommy? Facing my wife's murderous, icy glare, I carefully formulated my words and said cautiously, "Honey, if I said this was a misunderstanding, would you believe me?" Wan Tang looked at me coldly and shot back, "Do you believe it yourself?" That gaze was exactly like looking at an idiot. I gritted my teeth and nodded. I believe it, but looking at my wife's icy, jade-like face, I knew in my heart that this time, even jumping into the Yellow River would not wash me clean. I simply gave up explaining, because if I explained it clearly, Sui would be in deep trouble, even if she would not face corporal punishment. Writing lines as punishment and being banned from watching cartoons would be inevitable. So, as an old father, I decided to take the fall for everything. I said helplessly, "All right, it is all my fault. I'm sorry. I should not have done that." Hearing her daddy admit fault, Sui panicked. She lifted her little face and said nervously, "Mommy, it actually has nothing to do with Daddy. It is E's fault. E just wanted Daddy and Mommy to have a better relationship." Ruan Lan lectured from the side, "Little kids should not lie, you know. Especially lying to cover up for adults, that is even worse." She clearly believed that I was the one who instigated it. Sui was so anxious she was on the verge of tears. "He is not lying." She then recounted the entire incident exactly as it happened. It was logical, well-founded, and highly convincing. Especially when Ruan Tang heard that Qian Shao might have been involved in this idea. She instantly believed it a bit more. That kid was definitely capable of coming up with an idea like this. He has been led astray. Looking into her daughter's sincere eyes, Ruan Tang could not help but ask doubtfully, "Did Su Lai really not instruct you to do this? Do not be afraid. If it was him, Mommy will stand up for you." Sui shook her head desperately. "Daddy is a good person. He even told E that I can't do this kind of thing ever again. Daddy is a true gentleman." Sui blamed herself. "Mommy, I am sorry. At first, E just wanted you and Daddy to have a harmonious relationship. Qian Shao said that if Daddy had a photo, he would be happy." Hearing this, I was instantly shocked. So it was actually that kid Qian Zhao's idea. He almost made me take the blame for this. Seeing this, Ruan Lan immediately changed her tune, speaking with deep gratification. Knowing your mistakes and correcting them is the greatest virtue. I knew my brother-in-law was a man of upright character. I shot my sister-in-law a sideways glance, thinking to myself, as long as you are happy. You were the one kicking me hardest while I was down just a moment ago. And now you are the one playing the good guy. Ruan Tang felt a bit awkward at this moment. She looked at me. "Then why did not you say so earlier? You just admitted it and made me misunderstand you." I looked deeply at Ruan Tang and said softly, "Prejudice in the human heart is like a massive mountain. You were already disappointed in me, so naturally, you were more willing to believe the worst of me." My voice was flat but carried a sense of tolerance. "You did not believe me, but I do not blame you. As long as E does not get punished, what does a little grievance on my part matter?" Ruan Tang's heart was instantly filled with shame. In stark contrast, how gentlemanly I was, willing to take the blame just to protect our daughter, and how petty she had been. So, Ruan Tang bowed solemnly and apologized with utmost sincerity. "I am sorry. I should not have misunderstood you, nor should I have condemned you without listening to your explanation. Please forgive me." I waved my hand and smiled. "It is fine. Besides, I did actually look at the photos. I have to say they were taken quite well." Ruan Tang blushed and swung her fist at me. "Shut up. You do not need to mention that. Forget it immediately." Asterisk, this guy actually dared to bring up looking at the photos. Asterisk. Standing to the side, Ruan Lan looked confused. It was clearly a serious drama of misunderstanding and explanation. So why did she suddenly feel like she was being force-fed pity? Were these two deliberately showing off their affection in front of her? The sickeningly sweet stench of their flirting was practically overflowing. Bullying a single person like she has no human rights, right? But thinking of her sister's aloof and cold personality, Ruan Lan figured it must be an illusion. However, a deep sense of anticipation suddenly welled up in her eyes. She wanted to see what her sister would look like in love. She wondered what her tsundere sister falling into the sea of love would actually look like. Would she continue being a tsundere and pretend not to care? Or transform into a gentle, sweet girl next door? Ruanlan could not help but curl her lips into a smile. She really wanted to witness that scene with her own eyes. So, she patted my shoulder and encouraged, "Keep it up, brother-in-law." I stared straight at my sister-in-law. My intuition told me there was something wrong with this woman. She was just complaining a moment ago, and now she had an anti-smile on her face. How troublesome. Seeing me staring at her, Ruanlan rolled her eyes at me and said, "Stop looking. I, Ruanlan, will only ever be the woman you can never get in this lifetime. Who told me to be your sister-in-law?" Black lines of exasperation appeared on Ruantang's forehead. This was happening right in front of her eyes. I was already making eyes at Ruanlan. If they were behind her back, who knows what these two would end up talking about? Ruantang said in a deep voice, "Su Lai, do not forget your oath. You said you would only love me alone in this lifetime. If you dare to do me wrong, I won't let you off." Ruanlan gasped in surprise from the side. "But you two have already reached the stage of making eternal vows of love. Lightning fast progress. Looks like the day I get to hold a nephew is just around the corner." Mentally exhausted, I said, "Ruanlan, just eat your food, I am begging you. Stop digging pits for me to fall into." I felt my credibility in front of Ruantang was in imminent danger. Ruanlan rolled her eyes hard. "So boring." She then lowered her head and went back to tackling the delicious food in her bowl, thinking to herself, "This couple is truly too hard to please." After dinner ended, perhaps it was because she felt guilty about misunderstanding me during dinner, but Ruantang actually did the unprecedented and proactively brewed a cup of black tea for me. Carrying the tea, Ruantang walked over to me, and even personally blew on it to cool it down. She said softly, "Have some tea to help digestion." This kind of treatment was absolutely unprecedented. Lying on the sofa playing a PS4 game, Ruanlan silently chimed in, "Dalang, it is time for your medicine." "Brother-in-law, you would better be careful not to get poisoned to death." Ruantang turned back and spat, "Shut up and play your game. Own more word and I am confiscating your console." This sister really needed a beating every 3 days, or she would tear the roof off. Ruanlan immediately made a zipping motion over her lips. "Alrighty, I will shut up. You guys continue." She then predictably did not spare us another glance, focusing entirely on playing her game. I sat on the sofa, took the tea and took a sip. The aroma of the tea filled the air. He who is overly attentive usually has a hidden agenda. "Tell me, do you need something from me?" Ruantang sat opposite me somewhat awkwardly, twisting the hem of her clothes with her fingers. She stammered, "And no, it is nothing. I just purely wanted to brew you a cup of tea. Is that not allowed?" I nodded. "Of course it is," but I could clearly sense that Ruantang seemed to have something hard to bring up, so I waited patiently for her to continue. Ruantang hesitated for a long time, before asking softly, "Do you have anything to do tomorrow during the day? If you have to go to the school, could you ask for a day off?" I put down my teacup, looking puzzled. "Tomorrow is the weekend. It does not matter if I go to the school to work or not. Besides, those old men can study on their own. What is up?" Ruantang took a deep breath, trying her best to keep her voice calm as she said, "Then let us go shopping tomorrow. He has a drawing class tomorrow, so it will just be the two of us at home." Ruantang's voice sounded as if she were just mentioning a trivial matter. However, I keenly noticed that my wife's heart was not as calm as her exterior suggested. Ruantang's fingertips subconsciously twirled a loose strand of hair resting on her fragrant shoulder. Her gaze wandered, not daring to look directly at me, as if she were desperately trying to conceal her inner nervousness and other emotions. Looking at her adorable demeanor, my heart stirred. I agreed gently, "Alright, I happen to want to buy some things too, so let us go together." Ruanlan, who was playing her game, chimed in without turning her head. "I happen to have no classes tomorrow either, so I want to go too. I am going to be a third wheel and mooch off your food and drinks." Ruantang completely ignored her sister's words, looking straight into my eyes. She emphasized firmly, word by word, "Just the two of us. We are not bringing Ruanlan, and we are not bringing Yi." Ruanlan was completely dumbfounded, having no idea what was going on. Sis actually did the unprecedented and proactively proposed going shopping alone with Su Lai. Is this the legendary date? Sui, who was holding and eating a piece of sliced fruit, heard this and immediately looked over with expectant eyes. She yelled in a milky, childish voice, "Daddy, say yes quickly." Somewhat surprised, I carefully examined Ruan Tang. Then, softening my tone, I said seriously, if you are planning to use this as an apology, it is completely unnecessary. But Ruan Tang gently shook her head, her beautiful hair swaying slightly with the motion. She looked at me with a firm gaze and explained, it is necessary. I realized that I still know far too little about you. Hearing this, I raised an eyebrow slightly. With a bit of teasing laughter in my eyes, I said, do you want to know more about Yi's father? Hearing this, Ruan Tang's beautiful peach blossom eyes blinked playfully. The corners of her mouth curled into a breathtakingly captivating arc. She said to me softly, well, take a guess. Ruan Lan screamed in shock from the sidelines. She thought, asterisk has sis achieved enlightenment and finally opened her mind. Asterisk she actually knows how to take the initiative to attack, asterisk. Asterisk and that wink just now was way too girlish, asterisk. I turned to look at Ruan Tang, whose face was slightly flushed. Deliberately drawing out my tone, I said, honey, absolutely no need to rush. We still have all the time in the world. Ruan Tang shot me a fierce glare. This guy not only is not helping me explain things, but he is even joining my sister in her nonsense. To cover up her embarrassment, Ruan Tang immediately forced a change of subject. She said gently to our daughter, it is getting late. You should go back to your room and sleep now. After settling our daughter down, Ruan Tang turned around and found me still standing in the same spot. She could not help but ask strangely, what are you standing around for? Are not you going back to your room to rest? Hearing this, I immediately stood up from the sofa. I stretched lazily and said casually, I should go tell our daughter her bedtime story. It is a mandatory daily lesson. Hearing there was a story to be told, Ruan Lan wanted to join the fun too. But just as she took a step, she was stopped by Su Yi's little hand. The little girl looked at her aunt with a serious face. Auntie, you would better go to bed early. Tomorrow morning, you have to work hard to take Yi to kindergarten. Hearing this, Ruan Lan froze instantly. She asked in confusion, I can take you, but, is not tomorrow Sunday a day off? Why are you going to kindergarten? Su Yi blinked her big eyes, and answered as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Because I already made plans with Chen Xiao. We are going to visit the Science Museum and play together. Hearing this, Ruan Tang and I stopped in our tracks at the same time. We both looked over with serious expressions and asked, just you and Chen Xiao, with no adults tagging along. Su Yi immediately waved her little hands to explain. It is not just the two of us. There is also Mao Dou, Lily, and Shan Shan too. Lots of kids are going together. Ruan Tang and I looked at each other, confirming that it was a group activity with many classmates. We finally felt a bit relieved. Ruan Lan listened with a headache and advised earnestly, next time you can just say it is with your classmates. You do not need to recite every single name. Su Yi agreed obediently, hey Annie, I got it. Next time I will just say the whole class is going to the Science Museum. Suddenly remembering something, Su Yi turned to Ruan Tang again and said, oh right, mommy, for this trip to the Science Museum, I want to buy some snacks for the road to share with my classmates. My sharp eyes spotted a wallet on the coffee table nearby. I immediately walked over, picked it up, and grandly pulled out 500 yuan bills to hand to my daughter. Ruan Lan watched this scene, utterly dumbfounded. It took her a long time before she blankly reminded me, but, brother-in-law, I think that is my wallet. You are taking my money. With a completely justified expression, I turned to look at Ruan Lan and said, I know it is your wallet. Otherwise, I would have only given her own 100. After all, my secret stash is not that big. Early the next morning, the sky over Donghai City was shrouded in endless dark clouds. Bursts of dull, oppressive air permeated the sky above the city. It carried the suffocating feeling of a coming storm filling the pavilion with wind. Although Ruan Lan complained about the bad weather in her heart, she still hailed a cab, and took Su Yi to the kindergarten to gather first. Acting as a temporary guardian to accompany the tour, Ruan Tang and I did not drive out. Instead, we chose to walk out of Haitang Villa. We walked side by side on the mountain road, enjoying a rare moment of being just the two of us. Ruan Tang gazed at the crabapple blossoms blooming all over the mountain, lightly sniffing the faint floral scent in the air. Although it was a cloudy day in Donghai, it was a sunny day in her heart. I turned my head and carefully examined Ruan Tang beside me. I noticed she was wearing the star bracelet I had given her. The crystal clear chain accentuated her snow-white skin. The corners of Ruan Tang's mouth curved into a smile. That smile seemed capable of dispelling the gloom in the sky. In my eyes, at this moment, she was as beautiful as a celestial fairy untouched by mortal dust. I sighed inwardly. This was definitely not a case of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I genuinely felt that Ruan Tang's beauty surpassed those so-called holy maidens by 100-fold. Ruan Tang also keenly noticed my admiring gaze. Her pretty face could not help but flush slightly. She rolled her eyes and said, "Could you use your eyes to look at the road?" Hearing this, I did not avert my gaze at all. Instead, I looked into her eyes and said with absolute certainty, "Why look at the road? You're my Dao. Looking at you is enough." Hearing this slightly cheesy romantic line, although Ruan Tang felt a sweetness in her heart, she still muttered, "Why does that sound so weird? Smooth talker." Ruan Tang did not dwell on the topic further. Chatting casually, we slowly walked down the mountain. Most of our conversation revolved around Sui. Just as we reached the foot of the mountain, a muffled crack of thunder suddenly exploded in the sky. Immediately after, bean-sized raindrops began to fall with a pitter-patter sound. Ruan Tang looked at the sudden heavy rain. She said with a headache, "Oh no, did not the weather forecast say no rain today? Su Lai, let us go home and get an umbrella." Before Ruan Tang could even finish her sentence, an expression of disbelief appeared on her face, because she saw that in my hand, an oil paper umbrella had somehow magically appeared. Ruan Tang looked at the umbrella in surprise. The canopy was painted with a traditional ink wash painting. In the painting, a small skiff drifted on the surface of the sea. On the skiff, a woman gazed into the distance. Ruan Tang looked closer. The woman in the painting was gazing at a distant bluestone bridge. And on the bridge, an old woman was looking back. This scene felt incredibly familiar to her. Ruan Tang's breathing suddenly became rapid. She asked in shock, "Is not this the dream I had the night before my birthday?" The scene is exactly the same. I opened the umbrella, shielding us from the wind and rain filling the sky, and said softly, "This umbrella is a gift to you. It can shelter you from the wind and rain, and carry your longing for a loved own." Ruan Tang reached out and took the oil paper umbrella. Her fingertips touched the handle. With a complex expression, she asked, "Sulai, how did you know about my dream, and this umbrella?" I looked into Ruan Tang's questioning eyes, and explained softly, "This umbrella is a relic left by your grandmother. I merely helped you find it and bring it back." Hearing the word grandmother, Ruan Tang's expression changed instantly. Her hand gripping the umbrella handle tightened slightly, her knuckles turning somewhat white from the excessive force. Seeing this, I did not say anything more. I just softly reminded her, "Hold the umbrella. We should go." Some things were not meant to be completely revealed just yet. I actually had not lied. This umbrella was indeed a trace left by Ruan Tang's grandmother in the Sea of Samsara. I had merely used my supreme divine ability to manifest that trace into reality. Ruan Tang stayed silent for a moment, then quietly held up the umbrella. She did not press me with any more questions, because she knew that sometimes, the more you know, the harder it is to bear. The raindrops went tick-tock as they hit the oil paper umbrella, and splashed onto the ground around us. The sound was somewhat muffled, but to the ear, it seemed to carry a unique crispness. Ruan Tang took a deep breath, composed her emotions, turned to look at me beside her, and said softly yet solemnly, "Su Lai, thank you for everything you have done for me." I waved my hand dismissively. With a face full of expectation, I said, "Verbal thanks are too shallow. If you really want to thank me, why do not you treat me to a skewer of candied hawthorns?" I rubbed my hands together expectantly, thinking, when I was in the heavenly court, the seventh divine general was always going on about how delicious the candied hawthorns in the mortal realm were. But I have never had the chance to taste them myself. Ruan Tang looked at me with some amusement and said, "Where would we find candied hawthorns now? You have to wait until winter for street vendors to sell them. But Donghai has its own specialty snacks too. There will be some on the street we are heading to." Ruan Tang looked at the rain with a heart full of emotion. This Yuhua Alley was Donghai City's most bustling street 50 years ago. Now, though it has aged, it has even more charm. Later on, Yuhua Alley underwent renovations, and became a characteristic pedestrian street. It gathered street food from all over the country, making it a paradise for foodies. Looking at the dazzling array of food stalls lining the street, Ruan Tang's eyes instantly lit up. She called out excitedly, "Su Lai, hurry up and keep up." Seeing this, I smiled helplessly, and quickened my pace to catch up with her. We walked shoulder to shoulder on the bluestone path. The space beneath the umbrella felt exceptionally warm and cozy. Because the street was crowded, Ruan Tang, in order to dodge the oncoming crowd, would occasionally bump into my shoulder. With every touch, her face would involuntarily flush slightly. Every time this happened, Ruan Tang's heart would race, because she would remember that this was their very first proper date. A feeling of sweetness welled up from within. even though she already had a daughter. From high school all the way through university, Ruan Tang had always studied diligently and worked hard. She simply never had the time to date. So, when it came to romance, she was actually very inexperienced. Ruan Tang recalled the only time she had ever gone to a bar, which was also the first time she had ever gotten drunk in her life. And then she saw me sitting next to her. Fueled by liquid courage, she took the initiative and made her move. Thinking of this dark history she could not bear to look back on, Ruan Tang could not help but regret it and cover her face. She lamented inwardly, "Own single misstep truly causes a lifetime of regret. Why was I so impulsive?" So, strictly speaking, even though Ruan Tang was already a mother, and the ICCO in the eyes of her employees, when it came to romantic relationships between a man and a woman, she was just a little girl who had never even been in love. Ruan Tang spotted a stall, and immediately bought a snack. She said excitedly, "This is Donghai's famous stinky tofu. Hurry and try it. The taste is super authentic." Saying that, Ruan Tang shoved the entire box of dark stinky tofu into my hands. Meanwhile, she took a half step back, gently fanning the air in front of her nose with her hand. I looked at the box emitting a strong odor in my hands, asking in confusion, "What about you? Why are not you eating it? I clearly saw you looking like you really wanted to eat it just now." Ruan Tang answered self-righteously, "I do not eat stinky tofu. The smell is too strong. My mouth will smell bad later. You can just finish it all by yourself." I hesitated, wanting to say something but stopping myself, thinking to myself, "You really are a good wife." And here I was, feeling a tiny bit moved when I saw her buying things earlier. It turned out she was just using me as a garbage can. However, although this stinky tofu smelled awful, as for the taste, I tried a piece. It tasted genuinely weird. It really did not suit my palate. So I planned to quietly throw this portion of stinky tofu into the trash can. But just as I moved, Ruan Tang caught me. She glared with her beautiful eyes. "Wasting food is shameful." Holding the box helplessly, I asked, "Well, if we can't waste it, why do not you eat it? I can't eat any more of this anyway. I am really not used to this flavor." Ruan Tang immediately refused. "I do not eat other people's leftovers, especially one that has already had a bite taken out of it. You take responsibility and finish it yourself." Looking at her demeanor, I said with a half smile, "That is easy. I will just buy you a fresh one. You finish your portion, and I will finish mine." Ruan Tang pretended not to hear my words, and pointed directly at a milk tea shop 10 meters away, shouting, "Cha Yen Guanasi, that milk tea is delicious, I want to drink that." Helpless, I could only accompany her to line up. The two of us lined up for a full half hour, before finally getting 2 cups of steaming hot milk tea. Ruan Tang could not wait to stick the straw in. Holding the milk tea, she took a sip, a look of satisfaction appearing on her face. She narrowed her eyes happily like a little girl. So delicious, the queue was worth it. For the rest of the morning, Ruan Tang and I just strolled through Yuhua Alley like this. Although we were constantly eating and drinking and talked very little, in the eyes of outsiders, we were a sweet couple. As the two of us were walking, a white-haired old lady around 60 years old, holding a large bunch of white magnolias, said, "Young man, buy a bouquet of flowers." I stopped in my tracks, looked at the fragrant white magnolias in the old lady's hands, and smiled. "Madam, you misunderstood. She is not my girlfriend." Hearing this, Ruan Tang inexplicably felt a pang of discomfort in her heart. Just as she was about to speak, she heard me add, "She is actually my lawfully wedded wife." Hearing this, Ruan Tang curled the corners of her lips. That bit of discomfort in her heart vanished into thin air instantly. Instead, a faint smile appeared on her lips. She decided not to voice any objections. The old lady looked a bit disappointed upon hearing this. According to her experience selling flowers on this street, generally, only young couples deeply in love were relatively willing to spend big money on flowers. But I smiled and said, "Madam, I will take all these white magnolias. Calculate how much it is in total. Such beautiful flowers. My wife will definitely love them." The old lady was overjoyed hearing this. She hurriedly counted the flowers in her hands and said, 3 yuan each. There are 13 here. The total is 39. Just give me 35. I directly pulled a 100 yuan bill from my wallet and handed it over. "Here's 100. Keep the change." It is not easy coming out to sell flowers at your age. Ruan Tang took the large bouquet of white magnolias I handed her. She lowered her head and took a sniff, a brilliant smile blooming on her face. Then, shoulder to shoulder with me, we quickly walked away. As for the old lady behind us shouting, "I can't take this, I can't take this," who insisted on chasing after us to give change, not only did we not stop, We actually walked even faster. Holding the flowers, Ruan Tang lowered her head to sniff the refreshing floral scent. She said softly, "I did not realize you had such a kind heart. You did not even want the change." I turned my head and looked at her profile, which was more delicate than the flowers. I smiled and answered, "That is the purpose of our date, is not it? To make you happy, and to make others happy as well." Ruan Tang gave a soft humph. This little tsundere gesture was incredibly adorable. I could not help but reach out and ruffle her hair, as if I were teasing a kitten. Feeling the large hand on top of her head, Ruan Tang felt quite annoyed in her heart. This technique was exactly like how I usually ruffled Sui's hair. Am I just a child in his eyes? Ruan Tang slapped my hand away. She said angrily, "I took the initiative to ask you out on a date, and you rub my head like a child. In broad daylight with everyone watching, do not I have any pride?" I pulled my hand back, my expression suddenly becoming incredibly solemn. Staring at Ruan Tang's forehead, I said, "Ruan Tang, I have suddenly discovered a very serious problem." Ruan Tang was startled by my serious expression. She subconsciously asked, "What? Did something happen? Is my makeup smudged? Or is there a vegetable leaf on my teeth?" I spouted nonsense with a straight face. "I have noticed your hairline is a bit high. According to my professional analysis, you might face a baldness crisis after you turn 50. Ruan Tang froze for a second. Then, realizing what I said, she cursed with a dark face, "Bald your big head. You are the bald own, can't you speak like a normal human?" Furious, Ruan Tang stomped hard on my foot. The power of high heels is not to be underestimated. Then she stormed off ahead by herself, refusing to pay any more attention to this clueless straight man. I winced, inhaling a sharp breath of cold air. I had completely figured it out. Ruan Tang's temper was like a powder keg. She usually looked cold and aloof, but in reality, own tease and she exploded. I hurriedly quickened my pace to catch up with her, and promised to make stir-fried crawfish tonight to apologize. Only then did Ruan Tang finally, reluctantly, let go of her anger. Ruan Tang stopped in her tracks, turned to me, and made her final demand, "Besides the crawfish, I want you to add another dish, braised pig trotters. It absolutely must be pig trotters." Ruan Tang was clearly using this to subtly warn me, "If you dare to mess around again, I will directly braise your trotters and eat them." When it was time for lunch, the two of us chose an old-fashioned tea house deep within Yuhua Alley. The environment here was quiet and secluded, quite suitable for resting our tired feet. The taste of the tea and pastries here actually was not that great, and the prices were absurdly high. On top of that, its location was very poor, situated at the deepest corner of Yuhua Alley's 7 streets, making business quite slow. Ruan Tang poured herself a cup of tea, and said excitedly, "We are really lucky today. We just happened to run into that old gentleman telling stories. Listen carefully in a bit." The tea house's interior was actually quite modern, and the waiters were all dressed in modern attire. But right in the center, an antique-looking theatrical stage was abruptly placed, making it look rather out of place. Sitting on the stage was a blind old gentleman. He was holding a purple clay teapot, drinking tea to clear his throat, looking incredibly relaxed. He did not seem in a hurry to start telling the story at all. Scattered around the hall were about a dozen customers. Everyone was cracking melon seeds and drinking tea, patiently waiting for the story to begin. They were clearly all regulars here. This wait lasted for over an hour. I was almost falling asleep. Only then did the blind storyteller suddenly slam his wooden gavel. The crisp smack instantly jolted everyone awake. The old gentleman cleared his throat and asked, "Where did we leave off last time? I am getting old and my memory is failing me. Which kind guest can give me a reminder?" Below the stage, a customer immediately yelled while cursing, "You terrible old geezer, you are the worst. Which story are you even talking about? Have you ever finished any of the countless stories you started?" The customer continued complaining, "You only know how to dig plot holes, but never fill them. I have listened to at least 7 of your unfinished stories. You are simply the king of dropped plots." The young girl at the cash register also kept nodding. She thought to herself, Elder Zhang tells stories better than anyone else, but it is pure torture how he always leaves people hanging. Hearing the scolding, the blind storyteller did not get angry. He just chuckled, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth, and said, "Since that is the case, then today, let us start another brand new story. It is called The Deviant." In the story, the young man named Su Yenyang possessed extraordinary talents. No, in the path of martial arts, he should be called a heaven-sent genius. He could learn any martial arts move just by watching it once. However, this person was a bit too naive. Having lived in a mountain village since childhood, He had not seen much of the world. He thought everyone in the martial world was as heroic as written in books, and incredibly loyal. Therefore, the cruel martial artist quickly gave Su Yenyang, who was blinded by this dazzling world, his first lesson in life, teaching him what it truly means that a person's heart is unfathomable. The blind storyteller actually paused right there. Unhurriedly, he lifted the lid of his teacup and took a sip. He even smacked his lips twice in satisfaction, seemingly savoring the tea's aroma. The audience below was ready to curse him out. We were just getting to the good part. Our hearts were in our throats. Why did he suddenly stop? Stopping the chapter here is just too wicked. Ruan Tang was also completely absorbed in the story. At this moment, she stared at the old storyteller with immense expectation, wishing she could rush up and shake his shoulders, demanding he quickly tell the rest. But right then I leaned into her ear and whispered a spoiler: he did not die, do not worry. How could the protagonist die right at the opening? Then it would not be a story. Ruan Tang turned to look at me in surprise. She lowered her voice and asked curiously, how do you know? Have you heard this story before? Or can you read fortunes? I smiled mysteriously. I also picked up my teacup, took a sip and said, I used to have a friend who loved to give spoilers, and ended up getting struck to death by heavenly lightning. I put down my teacup, shrugged and said, so I can't go into details. I do not want to get struck by lightning. Anyway, just keep listening and you will see. It is very exciting. Ruan Tang rolled her eyes, utterly speechless. She thought to herself, I do not believe he actually knows this story. This guy is definitely just trying to act mysterious. A blind cat bumping into a dead mouse. Fortunately, at that moment, the blind storyteller finally finished clearing his throat and continued the story. The long sword that should have chopped off Su Yenyang's head was actually deflected by a flying dagger, and later, much later, Su Yenyang spent 5 whole years, and relying on his extraordinary talent and reckless determination, he forcibly fought his way to become the recognized #1 expert in the martial world. With a single blade, he slew hundreds of thousands of deviants, guarding a lone city outside the realm all by himself. He protected the world for 100 years, and that Chang'an city remains unbroken to this day. Someone asked, where is this outside the realm? Is Chang'an the modern-day Anxi? Why does this story sound more and more like pure fantasy? Old man, are you just making things up again? Someone else shouted in dissatisfaction, you have been talking for 3 hours, and ended it by suddenly introducing deviants. What country are these deviants from? At least fill in the background setting. Facing the crowd's relentless questioning, the blind storyteller simply smiled mysteriously. If you wish to know what happens next, please tune in for the next chapter. This old man is tired today. Everyone, disperse. The crowd left while cursing and complaining. The tea house instantly lost its business. Ruan Tang also stood up and straightened her clothes, getting ready to leave with me. Today's date was pretty much wrapping up. Just as she walked to the door with me, the blind storyteller suddenly spoke up. The martial world having a Su Yenyang is indeed good. But what about this nation of Hua having you? Hearing this, Ruan Tang froze for a moment. She looked left and right. Aside from the young cashier girl who was currently cleaning up, only she and I were left in the hall. Ruan Tang pointed at herself in confusion. Turning to me, she asked, is this old gentleman talking to us? Or is he talking to the air? Without turning my head or slowing my pace, I just murmured softly, perhaps. If Su Yenyang can guard own city for 100 years, why can't I guard the nation of Hua for 10,000 years? Hearing this arrogant yet powerful statement, the blind storyteller sat there expressionless. Only the hand gripping the purple clay teapot trembled slightly. I took Ruan Tang's hand, the playful, cheeky smile returning to my face. Let us go, honey. Ignore this old man. He is just babbling nonsense. Let us go home. Being pulled outside by me, Ruan Tang curled her lip and said, 10,000 years, you brag without even drafting a script. Can you even live that long? You really think of yourself as some ancient monster, do not you? I immediately shot back, of course I can. Not only can I live that long, I will also love you for 10,000 years. No, 10,000 years is too short. I will love you for 1,000,000 years. Hearing this straightforward, cheesy declaration of love, Ruan Tang's face instantly turned red all the way to the tips of her ears, saying things like this in broad daylight. Your skin is truly thick. The blind storyteller's weathered face sighed as if talking to himself. Even those from outside the realm cannot live for 10,000 years. Let alone us beings of mortal flesh and blood. The young cashier girl's eyes revealed a hint of confusion and curiosity. She asked softly, Grandpa, Do you know that tourist who just left? The blind storyteller gently shook his head. Those eyes, though unseeing, seemed to gaze spiritedly into the distance. I do not know him, but he is a martial artist with a cultivation of at least the 7th grade. The corners of his mouth curled into a self-deprecating smile. As he continued, a 7th grade junior grandmaster does not even have the right to know about outside the realm. Yet he delusionally dreams of guarding the nation of Hua for 10,000 years. Ruan Tang's pretty face was flushed from running. Under the setting sun, she looked incredibly charming and alluring. It made even me raise an eyebrow involuntarily. Looking at my stunningly beautiful wife before me, I thought to myself, the way this woman looks right now, she is clearly doing it on purpose. I nodded affirmatively in my mind. Definitely, this woman is usually so dignified and aloof. I did not expect her to have this kind of side in private. I deliberately put on a stern face and said with deadpan seriousness, I promised your sister that I absolutely would not mess around. Ruan, please conduct yourself with dignity. Ruan Tang froze instantly, her face covered in question marks. What kind of nonsense is this guy spouting? Everything was fine. Why is he suddenly talking crazy? When she realized what I meant, her beautiful eyes widened in humiliated anger. Gritting her teeth, she said, Su Lai, you jerk. If you dare spout nonsense again, see if I do not rip your mouth off. I feigned terror and took an exaggerated step back. I shouted loudly, what? In broad daylight with everyone watching. You actually want to rip my clothes off. It just so happened that a few pedestrians were walking past. Hearing this, they looked over with peculiar expressions. A few young girls even covered their mouths and smiled knowingly. Ruan Tang instantly felt her cheeks burning. She wished she could find a hole in the ground to crawl into right then and there. This was far too humiliating. How was she supposed to show her face in this area ever again? She hurriedly reached out and clamped her hand hard over my mouth. Dragging me, she quickly fled Yuhua Alley. It was not until we reached a secluded spot with no one around that she let go in frustration. Seeing that my wife was truly angry, I immediately dropped the cheeky grin. Lowering my voice, I humbly admitted my mistake. Alright. I was definitely in the wrong just now. Ruan Tang crossed her arms over her chest. Still unwilling to let it go, she interrogated. Since you know you were wrong, then tell me, what exactly did you do wrong? I pondered for a moment and summarized with a serious face. My mistake was that I should not have spoken the honest truth in my heart out loud in public, causing you embarrassment. Ruan Tang completely snapped this time. A mix of humiliation and anger, she screamed, Su Lai, you jerk. I'm going to kill you. Just as the two of us were messing around, a rather familiar female voice suddenly called out from a short distance away. Carrying a mix of surprise and delight, the voice called out, Su Lai Ruan Tang. We looked toward the sound. To our surprise, the person calling out was Su Yaoyao. She was standing at the street corner a few dozen meters away, intimately holding a young man's arm. Seeing the two of us look over, Su Yaoyao excitedly waved her hand and called out, Ruan Tang. I really did not expect to run into you guys here. What a coincidence. Ruan Tang straightened out her slightly disheveled clothes. Looking at her good friend Yao Yao with some surprise, she said, What a coincidence indeed. Are you out shopping too? Holding the man beside her, Su Yao Yao walked over. Smiling brightly, she said, Yeah, my boyfriend and I finally both had some free time to go shopping. Su Yao Yao immediately introduced enthusiastically, This is Lu Baiming. He is currently the vice president of the Third People's Hospital of Hang City, and the eldest young master of the Lu family, a famous family of traditional Chinese medicine. Beside her, Lu Baiming raised his chin slightly. His eyes were filled with unconcealed arrogance. The Lu family was a family of traditional Chinese medicine with a heritage spanning 300 years. Their foundation was profound and extraordinary. The Lu family was a towering mountain in the history of traditional Chinese medicine that could not be ignored. Ruan Tang directed her gaze to assess the man beside her best friend. She nodded secretly to herself. Feeling that this person looked quite talented and distinguished, she gave a polite, light smile. I am Ruan Tang. This is my husband, Su Lai. Coincidentally, he is also a doctor, though currently he is a school doctor. A school doctor? Which school does he work at? Hearing this, Su Yaoyao widened her eyes in surprise. She truly had not expected that I was also in the same profession. Just as Ruan Tang was about to explain, Lu Baiming interjected flatly. A school doctor who can't even perform a simple surgery, and only knows how to put band-aids on students. Does that even count as a doctor? He shot me a disdainful glance. It was clear that this arrogant and haughty Vice President Liu had a massive prejudice against the profession of a school doctor. His words were completely lacking in politeness. Seeing this, Su Yaoyao looked incredibly embarrassed. She hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Ruan Tang, Su Lai, do not misunderstand. Baiming's personality is just like this. Tugging on Liu Baiming's sleeve, she explained. He is used to speaking his mind directly. He does not have any bad intentions. He does not actually mean any harm. I did not mind this at all, however. With my excellent temper, I gave a gentle smile. It is fine. Everyone has a different understanding of professions. I do not mind, but Ruan Tang was a bit displeased. She pulled her best friend's arm and lowered her voice. Yao Yao, is not your boyfriend speaking a bit too harshly? Su Yaoyao pressed her hands together in a pleading gesture. Looking at Ruan Tang with pitiful eyes, she said, I am sorry, I am so sorry. He is just your typical, clueless straight man. Please, for my sake, just forgive him. Looking at her best friend acting like this, Ruan Tang, although still feeling somewhat uncomfortable in her heart, could only drop the subject. After all, it would not be good to cause a scene to her face. To ease the tension, Su Yaoyao proactively suggested, let me treat you guys to dinner tonight. It has been so long since we hung out. However, Liu Baiming frowned imperceptibly and said in a low voice, Yao Yao, I did not come to Donghai to eat with strangers. I came here to meet my professor. Su Yaoyao immediately glared at him. She scolded in a whisper, shut up. Own more word of nonsense out of you, and you can go back to Hang City. We are absolutely done. Hearing this, Liu Baiming instantly panicked. This was his first love. Both their parents had already met, and they were about to discuss a wedding date. How could they just be done like that? He was just about to open his mouth to defend himself, but seeing Su Yaoyao's angry expression, he knew she was genuinely mad. He instantly and obediently shut his mouth. He let out a helpless sigh in his heart, thinking, it seems this is the only way. At worst, I will just invite the professor to eat together. I hope the professor won't mind a couple of outsiders. Although Ruan Tang instinctively wanted to refuse this awkward dinner, under Su Yaoyao's expectant gaze, she ultimately soft-heartedly agreed. Shooting Star Melody. This was a restaurant with an odd-sounding name, but it was a highly characteristic restaurant with extremely luxurious decor, and was incredibly famous in Donghai City. It was said that the boss of this place was a big spender, sparing no expense to hire top chefs from all 8 great culinary traditions of China to helm the kitchen, all to create top-tier gourmet food. Here, as long as you were willing to spend the money, even if dragon meat from the heavens could not be eaten, there was no earthly delicacy they could not prepare. Inside the private dining room, Ruan Tang looked at the luxurious menu, and could not help but tease her best friend. Just to apologize, you are really spending a fortune this time. Su Yaoyao rolled her eyes. While pouring tea for the two of us, she said, why would I hold back with you? With our years of friendship, what is own meal? She put down the teapot and lowered her voice. To tell you the truth, my boyfriend specifically took half a day off this time, but it was not mainly to accompany me. He found out that his university doctoral advisor recently came to work in Donghai, so he specifically rushed over overnight, wanting to have a meal with his professor to build connections. Black lines of exasperation instantly appeared on Ruan Tang's forehead. So, you were afraid of being bored by yourself, so you forcefully kept me here to act as a prop for you. Su Yaoyao feigned anger. Tang, saying that really hurts my feelings. Our sisterhood is so deep. I mainly just wanted to catch up with you. Ruan